FantasyGuru.com on Bettor Sports Network.
Fournette running left. He gets the touchdown this time. No doubt about it. A big block on that left side. Was that Leverett that opened the door? I think it was. Fire the cannons, Bucks lead.
Jackson will throw out of the gun. Fires down the middle. Andrews has it. 21-yard line, tackled immediately. And Mark Andrews in pain as he is slow to get up. Something definitely up with the right arm, right shoulder. He is in obvious pain. Jackson takes the snap, fakes the handoff, drifting it backwards, running to the right, fires back in the end zone. Caught! Isaiah Likely! Touchdown, Ravens!
Great. Throws a dart. Caught ball. 3-2-1. Touchdown, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Julio Jones makes the catch.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Welcome in on a Friday. It is Lunch Money. Kyle Alfrey, Ray Flowers hanging out with you. The sights, the sounds, I guess more the sounds of last night's Thursday night football between the Ravens and the Bucks. A road win for Baltimore. And I got to say, Ray, yesterday we had a lot of back and forth with our commentators and followers and viewers in the chat room talking about handcuffs. And it got to the point of talking about handcuffs. I was like, people, we know like 2% of what's going to happen in the game. And then like everything else is left to all these millions of inputs and the situations and everything. Take a look at last night, Ray. Like, who'd have thunk it? The Ravens lose 3 starters in the game. Like Andrews, Bateman, and Edwards all go out. And who'd have thunk it? The Ravens come out with a game plan, Ray, where it's nothing but throwing. Like, who called for that? Not a soul. And that's what we're talking about, Ray. Even when we think we know, we don't know the half of it in the NFL.
Well, I think the concerning part is that we're all pretty good at this. Like 20 years ago, we're all a bunch of slap happy guys. Now we're pretty good at this. Like, we can analyze the data. We can look at film. We can look at matchups. And we can come up with, we being the fantasy community, can come up with a pretty good plan of attack against a defense or offense, And when you see coaches do something totally different, I mean, again, this is the whole battle that we face. If a coaching staff is going to choose to do things completely differently, then kind of makes sense. Completely differently than what they've done previously, no one can predict that. And then you start getting into what are the coaches doing, which is kind of the theme of this show, at least for me. Like, what are you doing? So it was a totally unexpected start to the game. 38 passes for Lamar Jackson. No one saw that coming. You're right, Kyle.
Yeah, he had 30 passes in the first half.
Crazy.
I think the Ravens ran 39 plays. He threw it 30 times. He was sacked a couple of times. So 32 times, Ray. Out of 39 plays, the Baltimore Ravens said we're going to pass, which, hey, Ray, I'll ask you this. I think going into last night, Lamar Jackson, let me see, I got the numbers here, had played in 59 games. Last night was game number 60. You may have seen this number. How many times do you think Lamar Jackson in a full game has thrown the football like over 30 times?
Over 30?
Yeah.
12.
15.
Okay.
Close. Very close. He threw it 30 times in the first half last night. Totally unexpected. Just wildly unexpected. The other part about this, Ray, is like last week, look at what the Panthers did to the Bucs on the ground. They ran all over them. And you would think, well, the Ravens, who like to run anyway, who have 3 or 4 running backs and a great rushing QB, surely they're going to look at that tape and do the same thing. We were wrong. And maybe we weren't wrong, Ray, because the first half kind of sucked for the Ravens. Like they tried something different, and honestly, it failed for 2 quarters last night.
Yeah, and I mean, and this is the constant back and forth that we as fantasy analysts and the coaching staffs themselves have to deal with. The Ravens are not made to win football games throwing the ball 38 times, especially when their number 1 weapon is out of the game and their number 2 weapon is out of the game. Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? No sense whatsoever. Why did they do it? Carlton Davis was out, Sean Murphy-Bunting was out, and Tony Winfield was out. So they perceived an extreme level of weakness in the secondary of the Bucs and tried to attack that, even though that's outside of their strength, even though that's outside of what their player personnel look like after the first half. Like, it's just weird, when you're, and this is I think the problem in all sports. If you're a basketball player and you can always hit a 3-pointer from the corner, just stand in the corner and hit the 3. Don't try to shoot it from up top, right? If you're a baseball player and you can't handle the outside pitch, take some strikeouts. Don't swing at it and roll over and hit it to second base. If you're a football team and you run the ball, run the ball. Don't try to change things because the matchup seems to suggest something that you could, especially again, when Bateman goes down, when Andrews goes down, I don't know, Kyle. I mean, again, there was a weakness there with the Bucs. They identified that correctly, but I don't think they have the pieces nor the team to attack it properly.
Well, there's usually a price to pay whenever you kind of go outside your comfort zone. But honestly, the Ravens didn't pay that price. Huge win. I mean, when you consider the dreadful start, when you consider the lost pieces within that game, a really impressive road win for the Ravens. So kudos to them. On the flip side, and we'll talk about it, but this Bucs team, I mean, yikes. And I hate to blame coaches, but they are so bad and so lifeless that Todd Bowles is on watch right now. Todd Bowles, absolutely on watch. Tom Brady, we should note, the numbers were fine, but the game was not. For those who might have missed it, he did not perform well. Today, Ray, it gets a little bit better for Tom Brady. I think it's an improvement. Last night, he probably left the stadium and was all pissed off. Good news for Tom today. We're hearing reports the divorce is happening. It's fine. I call that good news, Ray. Everybody should be happy in life, even Tom Brady. So move on. C'est la vie. Giselle ain't the only fish in the water, Ray. Tom Brady is going to have his pick of the litter after this thing is totally finalized.
Yeah, the product here at BSN is free to watch live. If you have the on-demand product and you missed the show yesterday, Lunch Money, we're on 12 to 3 every day, obviously. Kyle did a long discussion about Tom Brady's dating life and what that might look like. So if you have the ability to listen on demand, you might want to go check it out.
I really think everybody else, Ray, gets a real-life dating series. You've even had one way back when. You know, what channel was that on? I think it was on like UPN.
It was cable. It was cable access here in the Bay Area.
Yeah, right. Maybe local San Mateo PBS station, whatever it is. So everybody gets their dating special. I just really hope we get a Tom Brady dating special, and he's probably going to say that's beneath him. It's not. This would be, Ray. I would give in. Like, remember, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago? People don't recall this, Ray, but I do. Travis Kelce had a dating show. Travis Kelce did a dating show where, like, totally random women who didn't even know who Travis Kelce was went on dates with him. I think it was like finding a mate for Kelce.
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah, Ray. Oh,
okay.
yeah. And I don't think I'm sure he left the show with somebody, but shocker, spoiler alert, it didn't last. Ray, if Travis Kelce can lower himself to that level, I think it's totally fine for Tom Brady to do the same.
Yeah, but there's a difference because Travis Kelce is a big dude, but he's kind of anonymous. Tom Brady, everyone knows Tom Brady. Who are you going to meet that doesn't know his face? But hey, man, I don't remember the Kelce thing. I'll have to look it up after the show.
Yeah, here's Heather, our producer, Catching Kelce. That was the name of it. It was on. I think it was on VH1 of all things. It was pretty awful, Ray. I think I lasted maybe an episode and a half, and I said, "Ooh, this is rough." And he wasn't a superstar yet. He was an up and comer, but it was good enough for his own dating series. Somebody needs to bring Travis on and don't even talk about football. Don't even talk about the Chiefs. Like, let's look back at this dating show, Travis.
Yeah. Bust out. I'm going to tell him we're going to have him on here at BSN to talk fantasy football and just a whole interview on the dating.
What I'm down for.
Yeah.
Ravens look good last night. Week 8 is upon us. Injuries, just like Baltimore has, heck, just like Tampa has, they are still with us. So we got a lot to get to on Friday, getting you set for the weekend. It is a pleasure to have you with us. I mentioned Heather Klein, also Josh Winchester helping us out on a Friday. Thanks to everybody in the chat room, everybody who is constantly jumping in there, helping out each other, yelling at myself, yelling at Ray. We do appreciate it. We love having you guys in there. And if you haven't been in there, jump right in. And you may find a new friend, a new virtual friend. That's what you may find. There are a lot of people, Ray. I was reading about this a couple of weeks ago who have been friends for like 10, 12 years. They've never met each other.
Yeah.
Like the online world we live in, Ray. And you and I are kind of trending this way. Last time I saw Ray, I don't even know, a number of years now. But I still consider you a friend, Ray, even though I don't even know what you look like, you know, from the chest down.
Wasn't anymore. It was like a month and a half before COVID shut the world down in Vegas.
Yeah. So that's been what? Coming up on 3 years?
Coming up on 3 years in January, yeah.
Yeah, coming up on 3 years. So there you go. Ray and I can still be friends. We met each other online way back in the Blog Talk Radio days. That's when we met.
So long ago.
Man, those were glorious days. And you may find the same lifelong partner like I've been stuck with Ray Flowers. You may find that guy or that woman there in the chat room. So do check it out. As always, hit the fun button if you're having a good time. Hit the call button if you want to talk to us. We'll take calls if you want to give us a yell right here on Lunch Money. We like to begin the program, or at least near the beginning of the program, by starting with our lunch menu. I usually hand the baton to you, Ray, but not today.
Okay.
Not today.
All right.
I'm going to start with the appetizer because it's big news for the fantasy players out there. Big news kind of for the NFL landscape, where probably one of the top 3 or 4 receivers in football in a bit of a bombshell because it came out of nowhere is going to miss at least a month. And who knows? It's Jamar Chase. You and I were already off air yesterday, and we talked about him missing practice with the hip injury. But even then, there was very little expectation that it would affect this Sunday. Look at the news yesterday, Ray. It's not only going to affect this Sunday, but it's going to affect probably the next month for Jamar Chase. It could be longer. Now, the good news is we don't, as of now, hear about surgery with the hip for Jamar Chase. This is a hit fantasy players probably can't truly handle. This is a tough one to recover from. The Bengals are in a decent spot, Ray. You know, they still have their trigger man, Joe Burrow, and they still have Higgins and Boyd. That's a pretty decent fill-in. We'll see if a third receiver emerges. Maybe it's just Hayden Hurst. But for the fantasy player, Ray, it's a killer. It's a major, major hit as we kind of go into the stretch run here to make the postseason in our fantasy leagues.
Yeah, I was bragging the other day. Well, I wasn't bragging. I was asked on Jeff Mann's show, "Hey, Ray, how your team's doing?" I said, "Well, I got a bunch of 6-1 teams. One of my teams is 6-1. It's in the FSGA. I lost DK Metcalf and I lost Jamar Chase. Bye-bye 6-1. So there went that in the last 7 days. This is, the Jamar Chase thing. He was injured during the game, and he came off the field and he was with the trainers. And I don't know. This is a broken record for me, but where's the beat reporting here? Like, where is it?
Oh, Ray, this is a broken record for you.
I know it is, but he went from everything is fine, he's just missing a day of practice, to missing a month of games, if not more, maybe needing surgery. Where no one talks to these guys anymore? Are these beat reporters even there anymore?
Ray. There's no access in their basement. There's no access to him.
They're working in their basement now. They don't even go to the stadium or anything anymore.
Yeah, they go to the stadium, but let's remember he got hurt last week. He played the rest of the game. Adrenaline, things hadn't tightened up. Who the hell knows? So he may have been asked about it after the game, and after the game he said, "I feel fine. I think I'll be good." Maybe he said that. I don't know. Oftentimes we think all these guys are available. They're not. And I don't even know, honestly, at post-COVID, Ray, and maybe I haven't really followed the situation. I haven't been in, my God, the last time I was in NFL locker rooms, Deion Sanders was playing for the Washington Redskins. That's how long ago it was. I remember that one distinctly. Deion Sanders, Ray, looked at me and goes, "What's up, little guy, or little man? What's
Seriously?
up, little man?"
You never told me that. Okay.
Yeah. "What's up, little man?" said Dion to the
Aren't you
little
the height? Okay, I don't.
I mean, I'm almost 6 foot, but what's Dion?
6'1"?
Yeah.
I don't think.
Well, he was probably wearing platform shoes. It was but back then, Ray, you had access to the locker room.
Right.
I don't know what the NFL standards are, but a lot of times it's like we'll bring the relevant players into a collective room and we can all sit there and ask questions. Then we'll open the locker room afterwards. And a lot of these guys hide. You don't see them. You don't. Yeah. So I'm just going to stand up a little for the beat writers, right? You get to Monday, you don't have access to any of these guys because it's a day off. Tuesday, you say, okay, he's missing practice. Wednesday, he's missing practice. It's something you asked about, but you can only report what the team tells you. I mean, you can't say, "My God, I worry so much about Jamar Chase." Look how you and I react when we get these news reports. You can't just like flippantly say without real hard evidence, or at least somebody telling you, that Jamar Chase is going to miss time. Well, give these guys a break, Ray.
I'm legitimately asking this question. Do we, as consumers of the product, as the people that pay millions, billions of dollars with a B, billions of dollars for football every year, or baseball, or basketball, or hockey, any sport, Do we deserve more information when it comes to this stuff? Like,
Ray, I'll stop you right there.
Okay.
Do you or anybody else out there pay for the Cincinnati Enquirer or for the Twitter account, like access to the dude's Twitter? Do they owe us? Hell no. We don't pay them anything.
No, the NFL. Does the NFL owe us? I'm not talking about the beat writers. Does the NFL owe us?
They give us an injury report.
It's fake.
It's fake's a little strong, Ray.
It's 20% accurate.
It's edged. Yes. I don't know that they owe us. We got the news on Thursday, Ray. You can still make plans this week. Don't worry. You still have time to make plans.
You can still make plans after your waivers ran. Maybe some leagues don't have the ability to pick up players after waivers run, so they can't make a plan. We see this all the time, and we talked about it a lot at the end of the baseball season. Guys would get hurt, and they say he's fine, and then Nelson Cruz has an eye issue. He's on the bench for 17 days and never put him on the injured list. Like, I find it fascinating that in this era where we're opening up gambling and wagering and all this, and the NFL is heavily involved. They're involved with this. They have partnerships and everything. That they are thumbing their nose at the people that they're paying them money, because this information is vital to every partnership the NFL has, all of them, and they just don't care to tell us the truth. There used to be 4 designations on the injury list. They cut it down to 3. Yeah. We know that you have to report injuries. Teams constantly mislead us, lie to us, hide the truth, however you want to. The NFL never does anything about it. They don't care. I'm just surprised that we as fans don't, because everyone bitches and moans about this. Why don't we tell the NFL, we're not watching you this week until you change this? Why don't we ban week 10 in the NFL or something like that? Force them to actually give us the relevant information that we are paying for and not getting.
Well, Ray, you are one lonesome voice in the wilderness, because there's not many millions behind you who are willing to not watch football this week.
But you're right. But all 50 million people playing fantasy, 46 million of them are bitching about this on a weekly basis. I know they are.
You can only do so much. I mean, are you wanting the hard and fast, what the hell's going to happen this weekend by Monday morning?
I mean, want truth, where they say the guy's okay and then he's going to be out for 6 weeks. That's not true.
Yesterday,
not true.
What we had with Chase is I think he missed practice Wednesday, right? I think we out on Wednesday, hip injury. Thursday, out, hip injury. Thursday afternoon, it's a severe injury. He's going to miss time. I mean, it's not like they said he was going to play, or it was actually a shoulder, or it was an earache. They told us the whole week it was a hip injury. With the guy.
You've had a hip injury.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
I've got a fake hip in fact.
Yeah. Did you know immediately you were in trouble, or did it take 7 months?
Well, mine was an impact injury. Right. Like I don't even know. I haven't seen the play. Have you seen the play with Chase where he supposedly got hurt? I haven't.
I mean, I saw the play where he reacted. He didn't. It wasn't a collision.
Just so people know, I fell out of a tree, Ray. Yeah, when I landed, I pretty well knew that.
But you know what I'm saying? Did it take you? Did you not know you were hurt? I mean, come on.
Well, I will say that happened late at night, and I still went to bed. When I woke up the next morning, Ray, I knew something was. But I'm glad you brought this up. Let me tell you this, Ray. So, and I'm glad we're getting into this with hip injuries and how it's not always cut and dried from the get-go.
Okay.
Now, granted, I don't have a staff of doctors like the Bengals had. Some of the best in the Cincinnati area, I would suppose. But, Ray, I went to the emergency room the next day. And maybe it wasn't the emergency room. Maybe I just checked in, get this looked at. At the time, they told me I had a bone bruise. Even after x-rays, bone bruise. Ray, I went a full month on crutches. I traveled to Hawaii with my family on crutches. I had to provide the crutches myself. Like most people don't realize that you got to take care of your own crutches. The hospital doesn't hand them out. So Ray, they sent me out the door, said, go get crutches at Walgreens. Right. And if it still hurt, here's some medication for the pain. Come back. Well, Ray, I followed the doctor's orders and I said, Kyle, just tough it out. It'll get better. It's healing. It's a bone bruise. I never had a bone bruise. I don't know what it works, but it hurt.
Right.
Finally, after a month, Ray, I said, this ain't getting better. It's not getting better. I went to and this is, God, how long? 20 years ago. 15 years ago, maybe. So, Ray, I went to an orthopedic, and within like 3 seconds of him he was like, you have a broken hip. Yeah. But the original doctors for a month had me think, so, Ray, even the doctors, these ailments, these issues are not cut and dried in the moment. People make mistakes. Injuries get more severe. You miss something on the x-ray. That can happen with something like this.
Oh, they're absolutely. We hear injury. Oh, it's a sprained ankle, and they go and look, and it's like, oh crap, the sprain is way worse than we thought. He tore his ligament. Like that, yeah, totally can happen. I'm just saying that there is, like, to your point that you started this with, and no offense to the doctors you saw at County General or whatever, but Jamar Chase has got the best doctors going. Like and it's really interesting because we don't have a relationship with Dr. David Chow, the former, doctor of the Chargers, but we've talked to him for years back when we were on Sirius. We talked to him every Sunday night. And he was very open with us and would talk to us and say, look, they're about what, Kyle, 2/3, 3/4 of the injuries they know immediately. He goes, he goes, I can tell you if a guy tore his ACL by moving his knee around. I don't need it.
And that's why he's so successful with just looking at video.
Yeah.
You've looked at this stuff for 30 years. You can watch the video and kind of feel good about a diagnosis.
Yeah. And so he would tell us something on a Sunday. We'd find out on Monday. Yeah, that's what he said. Yep. I mean, so the idea that, he came in here after he came into the locker room after the game and they didn't look at him. Or after they didn't, come on, they looked at him. He's a huge part of their team. And then it was days before they really kind of started looking. I just don't buy it. Anyway, this might be a bad example because we knew the hip was an issue in the game. A lot of times it's like, oh, he's fine today. His knee hurts. And then tomorrow it's like, oh, he tore a ligament in his shoulder. What? You were talking about his knee for the last month and a half. So this may be a bad example, but I'm really surprised with the hundreds of millions of dollars that's wagered on the NFL each week that we're not holding them to a higher standard when it comes to this injury report because it's just not accurate most of the time.
In regards to Chase, we've heard IR is possible. That will help some of us in the fantasy game. But a lot of us, Ray, are not being helped in the fantasy game because really you just have to sit and pray and hope and cross your fingers on Chase. Yep. And I will be honest with you, Ray, they're saying 4 weeks. And again, maybe this is from my own experience. Like the hip injury thing, Ray, who knows? That's a real wild card. I will say this, Ray, if he were to not show up until week 16, me personally, I wouldn't be surprised. I know everybody's hearing 4 weeks and hoping 4 weeks, and maybe they're totally right. But that's a pretty severe injury for a football player, and especially a guy who is known the world over as being able to beat you down the sideline, make the big play. I mean, this guy's got more big play catches than anybody else in football. He's blowing away the field. He's got more than Tyreek Hill. This guy needs to be fast. He needs his legs. That's his whole game right now at the age he's at, and his development as an NFL player. I kind of worry about what we've got the rest of the year with Jamar Chase.
Yeah, and it's totally fair. You've got to hold him if you have him on your fantasy squad, obviously, but the return date and the effectiveness at that return date are in question. A lot of this might come down to how the team is doing too. If they go 4-0 their next 4 games, he's not playing week 5, right? They can't afford a setback here because that would cost them the season. It's different doing our job sitting in a chair and having your hip be sore, playing in NFL football. Totally different. And, we've seen this report, and I can't help but think of Fernando Tatis. We hear this report that they're not putting him on the IR yet. They're hopeful that he's going to heal quicker because he's a great athlete.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Your body does what your body. I know it, and I'm not a doctor. And if you're a doctor, please let us know. But my supposition here is that great athletes deal with pain better than us normal folk. They're able to work through it. Jamar Chase doesn't heal quicker because he weighs 38 pounds more than me. He doesn't heal quicker because he runs a 40-yard dash in a second and a half hours. He doesn't heal faster because of that. It's nonsense.
The only, and I agree with you, Ray. Yeah. It's kind of nonsensical that every athlete heals fast. The one thing they've got, though, is every day, Ray, they've got help and PT in effect.
Totally fair.
And so when we talk about healing, they do have access to that. Bones, though, it doesn't really matter about the PT. Now, this hip injury, maybe PT helps it. I don't know. But that would be the only thing, Ray, that they have that I would bank on that we don't have.
Yeah, but that's not – yeah, that's not that they heal quicker. That's that they have access to everything that we don't. If you hurt your hip, what do? You're sitting on the couch, eating lunch, watching, Wheel of Fortune, right? What's Jamar Chase doing? He's in there with electrodes and doctors and stuff 7 hours a day. You would have healed quicker too if you had that. So Fernando Tatis is a quick healer. He's going to come back from his injury. He missed his return by 2 months and then had to have another surgery because the first one didn't work. He's not a quick healer.
Yeah, so, the blanket statement, you're totally right. When people, they're quick healers. It's junk. That's a junk opinion. And these are new injuries. Like Jamar Chase, my guess is he's never had this injury. I don't know. There's a lot of genes at work with this kind of stuff, unfortunately. Some guys maybe have it, some don't. That's kind of how it goes. I'll say this, Ray. I touched on this a couple of weeks ago. The Bengals are in a stretch of their schedule where it would have been great to have Jamar Chase because, like, the upcoming schedule's awesome. Boyd and Higgins, let them roll, Ray. I mean, those guys are starters now, and I would post them as top 30 for as long as Chase is out. Would you do the same?
I think the case of Higgins. Higgins now is in the wide receiver one discussion. Boyd, I think top 30 is fair. The name that we all should be aware of too is Mike Thomas, because Mike Thomas,
not that Boyd, Thomas.
What?
Not that Michael. Thomas,
not Michael. Mike Mike on the Bengals. There's always a chance for a trade, but not for that Michael Thomas. Mike Thomas is going to run outside. He's going to directly replace Jamar Chase. Tyler Boyd is more of a slot guy, an inside guy. He's not going to go outside and run 80% of his routes on the outside. So, because it's natural to say Boyd. And yeah, the floor for Boyd is elevated now, right? Is it 8 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown every week? No. Is it now 5 catches every week? Is it 65, 70 yards every week as a floor? Probably. Is Mike Thomas going to go out there and catch 5 passes for 75 yards? I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is he will take the role of Chase, depending upon the defense, whether they're playing zone or man-to-man, the hot read, the thing that Jeff Mans has talked about on his show all the time. Mike Thomas now falls into that role of Jamar Chase. So it wouldn't be shocking to see Mike Thomas be ripping off some 40-yard plays here if he's seeing the field the same way that Joe Burrow is.
Our buddy Working Grind in the chat room says, and he kind of does the wink here, Ray, but it's a fair question. I really think it is. Mike Thomas or Kadarius Toney. I'd rather take a shot on Mike Thomas. I would. I'd rather take that shot instead of Kadarius Toney, who I believe is more trouble than he's worth, honestly. I think he is. I think people are being misled by this idea of him going to the Chiefs and being a pertinent part of this offense. I don't see. I'd rather have Thomas than Kadarius Toney.
I'll say this, that there is here, Mike Thomas has a finite shelf life provided that Jamar Chase returns, even if it's 6 weeks, right? By the time the playoffs come along, you can't use Mike Thomas if it goes according to plan. And I spent a lot of time on social media answering questions yesterday, looking around yesterday, and the fervor, like there are 90% of people that give fantasy advice would marry Kadarius Toney this morning if they could.
Would they let their daughter marry Kadarius?
No, they would do it. Even if they're straight, they would do it. Like, it's unbelievable. I checked. I looked around. There are like 3 people I saw that said, "I'll be a little nervous about this." Like,
Well, I'll be the 4th, Ray.
Well,
I said it yesterday.
I'm 5th, and Jeff Mans is 6th, and Ted Schuster is 7th.
Okay. It's a ton of hype, and I get it. There's a chance, Ray. I'm eating my words.
Yeah.
There's a chance, absolutely.
Sure.
But I'm not seeing it the way. I mean, other people like to this is a slam dunk. Yeah. I don't see that at all.
And I've seen everywhere. He's the most talented guy on their team. Newsflash: talented guys fail all the time. It's the underwear Olympics. It's what Kyle and I have been talking about for 10 years about draft day. And how many first-round draft picks fail? A lot. A lot. So Kadarius Toney goes to a new team. He's not immediately going to be – they're not playing this week. What's the playbook in terms of his understanding of it? 1. 2, where is he at physically? 3, where is he at off the field? 4,
what is he as an NFL player, Ray? It's not like we have 3 years to go on here.
4, Andy Reid has had a history. We talked about this yesterday of bringing guys in, give them an opportunity and all that. You don't immediately get on the football field. Everyone in the universe, besides us, everyone in the universe, Josh Gordon of the Chiefs. Oh boy, how many questions how often did he see more than 1 pass a week? Okay, you have to earn it with the Chiefs. So that means Kadarius Toney's got to show up on time. He's got to work out. He's got to practice well. He's got to be in a good headspace. Then he has to start leaping players that are in front of him. Because say what you want, making all these changes in season is a huge change. Maybe Toney adapts to it quickly. Maybe he doesn't. Nothing we have seen to date as an NFL player should lead anyone to think it's going to be quickly. Could it happen? Yes. Is it logical to think that? No. So I'm shocked, really. I'm really shocked by the people I saw. They're 100% in on Kadarius Toney, as if in 2 weeks, he's a weekly starter. I just don't get it.
I don't know if he's willing to put in the work. Let's see it, because what I saw this year was a guy who said, I don't want to play for this team. I don't feel they respect me, and just pouted his way through it.
Yep.
And hey, the Chiefs, as I said yesterday, they for some reason love this sort of player. I don't know why, but they love it. They think they can change him. We'll see. Appetizer for you, Ray. What do you got?
Yeah, and this is the other social media thing yesterday. We spent, I don't know, we had multiple segments yesterday where we talked about Gus Edwards. And we talked about the game. We talked about him. We went back and forth. And I go into the Discord over at fantasyguru.com yesterday in the afternoon before the game. Got my writing done, went in there, started answering questions. And it was Gus Edwards, Gus Edwards, Gus Edwards, Gus Edwards. Every other question was Gus Edwards. So everyone in the world added Gus Edwards. No one in the world knew if they should play him. What did we say on this? And I finally looked it up yesterday. I found the show and I said, go start listening in 1 hour and 8 minutes of our show yesterday. You can go look at it if you have the ability on demand. 1 hour, 8 minutes in. Kyle and I talked about this. What played out last night with Gus Edwards is exactly what I said was going to play out yesterday. He was not involved in the passing game. He lost a snap. Now, he was hurt, but he lost snap share compared to the week before. Why? Because they were on a short week. He was coming back from the injury, played his first game, short week, all that. Not involved in the pass game. And I said yesterday directly, if he doesn't score a touchdown, he didn't score a touchdown, guess what? I mean, this is exactly who he is and exactly who he's going to be. So I don't understand where did the confusion happen with this? We have rankings over at fantasy.
The other part of this, Ray, is we also noted the fact that this is the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
First off, their top running back is Lamar Jackson. And secondly, they always rotate running backs. Like, who got to work last night? Kenyon Drake.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't great, but they are willing to use all these guys. Justice Hill's getting carries. Devin Duvernay on reverses is getting rushing attempts. It's what they are. Now, we sit here and complain, why were they passing? Well, who knows? One game plan, but they're still a team that embraces a litany of running backs.
Yeah.
And, a week ago, I bet everybody was asking about starting Kenyon Drake. And now this week it's Gus Edwards.
Yeah.
Next week it's going to be back to Kenyon Drake. I mean, you got to understand what they are, what the Ravens have been under John Harbaugh is they're going to rotate a bunch of different dudes. And by the time we think we know with the Ravens, guess who's coming back through that door? J.K. Dobbins. And he'll throw a wrench into the plans. So it was fine to pick up Edwards, Ray, but to have these grandiose plans for the rest of the season, you can't do that with anybody in this backfield. You have to understand it's hit or miss from week to week with the Ravens guys in the backfield.
Yeah, and again, this is not Ray's always right because I make mistakes all the time, make wrong calls all the time. Gus Edwards last night was exactly who Gus Edwards was last week, exactly who he was last year, exactly who he was the year before that, the year before. This is who he is. Okay. I hope people didn't
injury-prone running back.
Yeah, right. I desperately hope that people didn't go out and spend 50% of their budget on a guy they didn't know if they could play, which is kind of what I got the sense of. He is a bottom level running back 2 flex option. That's who he is. Every week, as long as he's healthy, and we don't know about that now because of the injury last night and bye week coming up. But that's who he is. I think we had him ranked 27th at running back this week, something like that. And so, everyone, you have to make your determination on who a player is. But we sat here on the show yesterday, laid it out. We talked about it on SiriusXM, laid it out. We have the rankings, we laid it out. I'm in the chat room. I couldn't believe it. I got 30 questions in 10 minutes. Gus Edwards, Gus Edwards, Gus Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I start looking on the internet. It's Gus Edwards, everywhere. Nothing that happened last night is out of the realm of what should have been expected by everybody. So I don't know. Again, I don't know what people thought they were getting. You are getting a 7-point-a-week guy that gets a touchdown and gets you 13. That's what you're getting. It's exactly what you're getting, and it's exactly what he did last night, minus the touchdown.
As for the main course today on Lunch Money, more from the Ravens and the Bucks. We'll talk about those injuries and where you go from here. Side dishes today. We'll take your questions in chat. Some start-sit issues. We will handle those. A lot of injury news, as you might expect, coming into this Friday. Let's see. Lunch Hunch. We got Duke's Den. We're going to preview the World Series, which finally begins tonight. Happy birthday, Ray. You finally get baseball. It's back.
Yes.
Another good thing for you, I saw every single game has the same start time, Ray.
Yeah.
And it's always on the same channel. So nice reward for those baseball fans. 8:03 Eastern is the first pitch for every game. That begins tonight down in Houston. Phillies taking on the Astros. So we'll take a preview of that. It's a Friday, so the treasure trove is coming your way. Also, Matt Bruning is coming your way from campus to Canton. He's going to preview the weekend ahead in college football. And we've got some more NFL game previews to get to as well. So that is all coming your way on the menu as side dishes. Time now, Ray, for the bet du jour. And speaking of that World Series, that's where you're going, right?
I am, yeah. We've got a matchup between, there's the second greatest disparity in terms of wins in the regular season between the Astros and the Phillies of all time for World Series. The number one, I think it was a game or two different, was the 1906 series. We missed that one, Kyle, between the Cubs and the White Sox. So this is really a disparity between the haves and have-nots record-wise, and you look at how the Astros pitching in particular is done in the postseason. Same thing, but I'm talking my bet du jour on the other side here with Aaron Nola. The Phillies understand that, yes, if Nola's going well, we're riding this guy, and maybe he gives us 8 innings tonight. If he's not going well, they're going to have to go to the bullpen. They can't afford to have, fall down 0-1. They just can't do that. They have to get ahead 1-0 here against the Astros, who are a team with all the experience and with the pitching success they've had, especially in the postseason. So I'm going Aaron Nola plus 105, under 16.5 outs. So he can throw 5 innings, 4 2/3, 5 innings, 5 1/3. He can do that, be effective, get out of there. He can go deeper in a game. And in fact, they would love for him again to do that, Kyle. But if there's any signs of concern here, I just don't think the Phillies would be comfortable going down, 0-1 to the Astros, given everything. So they're going to have a quick trigger if he struggles.
Gosh, and I know what you're saying, and it's the postseason, but I look at that Phillies bullpen, Ray, and it's like, do they have the guys who can come in and cover the 4th, 5th, and 6th and 7th? Like Houston, Ray, can do that. They've got a bullpen. Like, those guys are pitching lights out. I don't know if we have that with Philadelphia. Frankly, they got 2 relievers, and those guys have seen a ton of work. Talking about Dominguez and Alvarado, and they're more on the late side. They aren't the long guys. I guess you could throw out an Eflin there. They could kind of bring in a Syndergaard if you needed to for 2 or 3 innings. I think that's actually a risky bet du jour, Ray, which I don't often see.
I wouldn't mind that, because I hope I'm wrong, because that would be good news for the Phillies, which would make the series likely go longer.
Well, they have Wheeler tomorrow. I mean, the argument for it, Ray, to your point is, if they have to go to the bullpen early, they can do that. They have Wheeler tomorrow, hoping he goes 6 or 7. Mm-hmm. You got an off day then, and then you come back in game 3. So you wouldn't blow up your bullpen in effect because of Wheeler and the off day to follow. My bet du jour, as I always like to do on a Friday, is college football. Texas A&M. This is going into the Wayback Files. I think like the last week of August here on Lunch Money, I gave you my sleeper for the national championship. It was Texas A&M. That was a laughably bad wager on my side. Laughably bad. They're terrible. Can't score the football. Ray, I'm taking out some anger on the Aggies.
Okay.
Tomorrow they are hosting Ole Miss. Ole Miss is, I think, top 15 right now, maybe top 20. Another SEC opponent. Somehow, some way, Texas A&M's over-under in this game. They are the underdog, but is 26.5. And I saw that number and said, doesn't make sense. I feel like this team can't score. Like everything I read about Texas A&M is how bad the offense is. So I looked it up, Ray. They haven't even scored 25 points in any of the last 6 games.
Okay.
And here they're getting 26.5. Why? I mean, I know Ole Miss is no stalwart on the defensive end, but it didn't compute for me. A&M's mostly clueless offensively. So give me the under. It's minus 105. I'll take it. History's on my side, that one, between Texas A&M and Ole Miss. Dessert for the day. Ray, have you ever heard of a guy named Mattress Mac? You ever heard of that guy?
That's the guy that puts all these huge bets. Yeah, I've heard of him. I don't know how successful he is, but I've heard of him.
Yeah. Well, what he does actually, he runs a mattress store, if you didn't get it by the name. He runs a mattress store in Houston. And you're right, Ray. He just gambles like crazy. What he also does is he kind of hedges a gamble he makes in the business world with a gamble he makes in Vegas. He and I don't know this year specifically if he had this, but in years past, Ray, he said, if you buy a $3,000 mattress from me anytime in the next, 3 months, and if the Astros win the World Series, your mattress is free.
Right.
It's on the house. So he always makes a hedge that if he has to pay back that money, he at least bets a ton on the Astros to win the World Series. In effect, he insures his own bet, is what he's doing. Ray, he has the largest bet he has made, but also maybe the largest payoff we've ever seen coming if the Astros win. So we'll talk about that coming up in dessert. Finally, the drink special. Ray, you always surprise us with something
I do.
exciting and new and cool and fresh. Yesterday, you had a beer can that informed all of us as to how to raise the bird. If you're ever so inclined, it is termed the California Hello. I've also known it as the California Goodbye when people leave your state and they say, I'm done with this crap. They also give the California Goodbye.
Right.
How do you follow that up today? What do you got?
I got another California beer here. This one does not involve flipping off. In fact, this one would probably, the people that drink this probably never flip anyone off because they're just happy. They're from an area where let's go surfing. Let's be cool. Let's give the peace sign. It's a blonde ale by Strike Brewing Company here in the Bay Area, and it's just a blonde ale from Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz, love it. That's the emblem of the skate company.
That is absolutely, and they have the it says blah 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 here. They have the permission to use it and the whole thing. So yeah, this is the same one you can get on your hats and your shirts and all that kind of stuff, shoes. But it's a blonde ale. It's tasty. They sell it here at the local market. Nothing fancy but it's just a nice, good local beer.
Now, Ray, you're a pretty straight-laced individual. You're not somebody who gets wild, wacky, and weird. I have never set foot in Santa Cruz. I remember I was taking a trip up the one from LA to San Francisco, and you kind of drive past Santa Cruz, kind of skip around it. You go through it, but is it a pretty off-centered beach town? How is Santa Cruz? What's its reputation? Is it fun? Is it exciting? Is it hip? Is it dirty? Is it crummy? Are the beaches sucky? What is Santa Cruz? What's the rep?
Interestingly enough, not a lot of people know this. You may not even know this, actually. I was actually a banana slug for about a month. I actually went to UC Santa Cruz for a month.
I'm guessing it wasn't great if you left after.
Well, no, there's a reason. I had life. I ended up going back to work and then going back to school thereafter because I had family stuff going on.
Banana slug. Ray Flowers, the banana slug.
I was a banana slug, and that was right at the time the dude was going to class naked. That's a big thing if people remember it. He just chose to go to school, not wear clothes. Okay,
and it was fine. The Santa Cruz people were like, we can't tell a guy what to do.
And this was, this is in the late '90s. There were dudes in dresses in class. There was a girl that came in pajamas every day. I'm not making this up. It's a very accepting area. I think that it depends where you're at in the city. It's a beach town, right? So there are some less than desirable areas where, there's a lot of drinking and it's not really super clean. Yeah. There's part of that, but overall it's a cool place. People go chill on the weekends. It's a nice vibe. I really like Santa Cruz.
How far is Santa Cruz from San Francisco, roughly?
Roughly 45 miles.
Okay, not too bad then. Closer than I thought. Okay, Santa Cruz. I got to get out there. So that's the beer. That's one of the local brews. Now, Ray, yesterday I complained about how bad my drinks have been lately. And I was like, Ray Flowers is crushing me in this. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the beer store. Well, I didn't go yesterday. But I did go to my fridge, Ray, and as I always note, finding a full beer in my fridge is very rare. They don't hang around very often.
Okay.
And I haven't been saving all the cans like Ray does. Although I'm getting suspicious on Ray. I think these cans are saved over the previous 6 or 7 years. These are not all recent.
I would honestly I usually drink a beer a night. So they're not, none of these are older than 6 months, but they're all very recent. I haven't been a beer guy until
I wish I had that backbone where I could open one beer and be done. Come on. Who does that? Come on. Well, anyway, Ray, I found a brew that is unopened. I didn't slam this before the show or this morning or anything. And Ray, it's from your neck of the woods. Okay. I always remember this beer because I went to a game in San Francisco, Giants Royals, on a Thursday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon. I sat in the bleachers with my dad and my cousin. We were on a big West Coast baseball trip. And I remember going behind the bleachers, Ray, and you can kind of walk around in there and buy stuff. It's kind of their concessions area and everything. And, obviously the beer prices are, through the roof, stratospheric.
Yes.
But Ray, I am a connoisseur of the ABV, so I'm always choosing my beer choice based off of, bang for the buck.
Right. Yeah. Well,
I'm not going to go to the Jack Daniels thing and let them pour my drink knowing it's going to be 4-5 Coke.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. I will take my photo with that Jack Daniels guy, though, in the outfield you got in San Francisco. That's pretty cool on the bench there. Yeah. There's a Jack Daniels statue. It's pretty rad. Anyway, I remember in San Francisco, Ray, there was a stand for this particular beer, and this beer runs at about 8%.
Okay,
and it was
pretty
the
good.
same price as like a stupid Bud Light. So I said, sign me up for one. I think it may have been like 75 cents more expensive, but I said, sign me up for these. And I buy these occasionally. It is quite a good one. It is the Lagunitas little something. And it's where's there's the lady right there.
There she is. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the little something in the something.
Never had that, Kyle. Yeah.
You've never had this?
No. I know Lagunitas I've had, but not that one.
It's all over the place in the Midwest. But Lagunitas is out of your area.
I know
right?
that one.
Your backyard. Yeah, this is good. Right? You have all this crap you drink. You got to get a Lagunitas occasionally, buddy.
I got some other good ones that I already got the storage down here in the back behind me for the ones that have been drank. And I don't have a Lagunitas there, but I maybe can get on that, Cal, for you.
Yeah, I mean, this may, Ray, this is going to put some hair on your chest, okay? So watch out.
Okay.
You don't want to get too much.
I already have some of that. But
it's an ale. They even have a phone number here. I love beer cans, Ray, who will ship their beer all over the country and then put a phone number so drunk people can call them in the middle of drinking.
Yeah.
I like that. So
maybe it doesn't taste perfect. Okay. I said maybe it doesn't taste perfect. You have to be able to let them know that this is a little bit stinky as you're still drinking it.
Yeah, this stuff's good. It's always gotten me to where I want to go.
Okay.
So I appreciate the little something. Okay, that is it for the lunch menu today. When we return, we're going to give you some more thoughts on the Ravens and the Bucs. Got to get some injury news too. Latest on Zeke Elliott. We maybe have a situation that might be developing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Did the concussion happen or not? Can you be in protocol for a concussion that never happened? Very weird situation. We're going to set Ray off again with injury.
Let's do that.
This is the one you should have led with, Ray. The Amon-Ra St. Brown. That and more of your thoughts in the chat room. Keep them coming. Right now, let's hand it off to Duke. He is the Den. I think he is a sad version of the Duke today because last night, Thursday Night Football, was not all that friendly to our man Duke. Let's see what he's talking about in the Den. We're back with more after this.
Good afternoon, bettors. It's your boy Duke, back and better than ever. Presented to you, as always, by FantasyGuru.com. Welcome back to Duke's Den. I'm trying to make you guys some money. One of these days, we're going to go 2-0 on Thursday Night Football or Monday Night Football. My bets, I had a chance of winning last night, go 1-3. We do hit Utah money line. That keeps our parlay alive. Of course, that was Utah, Ohio State, and Tennessee. Both Ohio State and Tennessee, those lines have moved with us. I think we're like 15 and something else point favorites. So feel okay about that parlay. But we go 1-3 on straight bets last night. Of course, I smelled that rat line. What's going on with this Tampa Bay -2? I sniffed it right out. I stuck with my gut instinct, took Baltimore, who I think were the better team last night. But that last drive by Brady kicks it over the total. So we lose our under. We go 1-1 on Thursday Night Football. But on the college front, Utah, 21-17, again, keeps our parlay alive. Doesn't even come close to winning our -7 bet there. Of course, a big fourth quarter by Washington State, 10 points late. Kind of did us in, but they were really early in the fourth quarter, so it was a sweat till the end of the game, up way too late. I'll get to that here in a minute. I have a theory about Tom Brady. NC State beats Virginia Tech 22-21. Why does that matter? Well, we had NC State -13.5. And look, if I was you and you were criticizing me, I'd say, hey, Duke, you spent about 4 minutes between two different segments talking about this Jack Chambers fellow, this grad transfer who's going to dink and dunk and run and do all the kinds of things for NC State. And he gets benched on the third series for a true freshman, no less. If I was you, I might say, hey, Duke, maybe figure that out. They had a week to get a true freshman up to speed. I should have taken the under on that Chambers rushing total. Doesn't even sniff it, of course. Morris plays most of the game, true freshman, does bring him back to a win, but he looked like a true freshman playing for the first time. Not a good bet there, so we lose our -13.5. So 1-3, losing night again. Remember, #FadeDuke. I think it's probably about time to start that. But I have a theory about Tom Brady. I think the NFL is being mean to Tom Brady. And let me explain. Do you know how late these games are for someone of his age? Like, I'm 39. I put my child to bed at 8. I grab a small bowl of ice cream. About 8:30, the yawns are starting. I'm like, all right, let's start winding down the day. You're asking this old man to start a football game against other grown but younger men at 8. I think he needs to play all day games. If the NFL had any sympathy for Tom Brady, He'd play like noon or 1 o'clock games or the 4 o'clock, not these night games. I don't think Tom Brady's regressing. I think he's just sleepy. What do you think? I don't know. Next hour, I have a million college football bets to rifle through. Can't wait to do that. In the last hour, NFL, Survivor, and bets coming up. Adios.
It's always lunchtime here. Now back to Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers.
I gotta say, I don't know if Duke's off, Ray. Maybe it is just too late of a start for Tom Brady. They looked pretty sleepy last night. Like early on, it was fine for the Bucks, but like the last 2.5 quarters was pitiful for that offense last night.
Yeah, they got a lot of problems. I mean, it's just how it is. And we talked about it. They have problems on the defensive side of the ball. They got problems on the offensive line. They got problems with the skill position players. I don't know if they got problems with the coaching staff, motivation. I don't know what's going on, but it's a mess. They're 3-5. We hinted yesterday that if they lost the game last night, you had to seriously look at the front office and say, are they going to make changes? You mentioned this earlier in the show today. After they did fall to 3-5, I think this is the first time. This is the first time Brady's ever been 2 games under 500, like ever. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. They got problems. They got a lot of problems, and it doesn't look like they're pulling out of it anytime soon.
Yeah, losses in 5 of 6 after falling 27-22 last night. I was just reading a updated story on the big news about the divorce, Ray, and actually my buddy sent this forward to me. He was kind of wondering about the last paragraph here, or one of the last paragraphs of the story, where it says that Brady was sitting at his locker last night looking despondent as teammates Blaine Gabbert and Ryan Griffin tried to comfort him. As my friend said, Ray, who sent me this, does Brady even know who Blaine Gabbert is?
Yeah, come on.
What is Blaine Gabbert going to tell Tom Brady? Come on. Get out of his face, dude. Brady doesn't roll with Blaine Gabbert. He rolls with
Jay-Z. Yeah,
Jay-Z. I mean, Elon Musk. This guy hangs out with Tim Cook. Robert Kraft. He doesn't hang out with Blaine Gabbert. Get out of the way, kid.
Maybe Blaine Gabbert's a friend of his. You never know. I mean, Blaine Gabbert's been around forever. He must be a good guy, Kyle. I know you covered him in college, right? But
yeah, he went to school here in St. Louis. He's from Parkway West. Parkway West is Blaine Gabbert. But he's made a lot of money. Maybe he was telling Tom about a good friend of his who's in the market for a husband. Maybe that's what Blaine was doing. Get them on the rebound. That's kind of what you should do. Okay, we welcome you back to Lunch Money. A little more on this Ravens-Bucks game. First off, the injuries, Ray. There's a lot of them, and it's too early to say anything definitively because neither of these two teams play for like 10 days. So we got a long break here. But Mark Andrews, it's not only the knee, but now it's the shoulder. Mm-hmm. Rashad Bateman, it's the foot again. Gus Edwards, it's a hamstring. Now, the Gus Edwards should not surprise anybody. He has a history of this. Plus, he is coming off a severe injury, and we've heard this a ton. Overcompensation. You start to see other injuries. I think that's what we're seeing with Gus Edwards. Andrews, I tend to think you can play through that. We'll see. Bateman's a concern, Ray, because they gave this guy time off. He obviously is still not 100%. They could sit him down for a long Bateman pick for anybody who made that move. Really looking pretty junky for 2022.
It is. And, it's one thing to talk about talent and opportunity, right? But then we've got the last piece, which is actually producing. And he's got oodles of talent. And he has the opportunity, but maybe he doesn't have the opportunity some people thought. They threw the ball 38 times last night that we discussed earlier in the show today. They want to throw it and have been throwing it 28 times. And Lamar Jackson, let's say with me, folks. Those inside the hash marks. He does not throw. He doesn't do it. And, when he starts scrambling around, where does he look? He looks to the slot. He looks to the tight end. He doesn't do it. So I think that people have to be very cautious. They should have been more cautious with Bateman in a dynasty league. Okay, let's play the long game. Keeper league, fine. But in a redraft league, there was just too much hype for Bateman. And this, if he was healthy, he'd still be getting 4 targets a week. So, I think people just overplayed their hand with him in the preseason.
Well, and Ray, that's why, let's say, and I'm nobody's saying this, but Bateman's out for 6 weeks. I wouldn't get hyped about Duvernay because, like you said, that's not the way the offense is built. Now, if they came out and said Mark Andrews is out for 6 weeks, Ray, I would get hyped for Isaiah Likely.
Absolutely.
And we brought this up last night. If Andrews had not played in that game, Likely would have been an immediate add because, as Ray just noted, as he said many times, they got to make use of their tight end. And Likely looked good. He played the part last night, Ray. That touchdown catch looked easy. Like if you're just watching, you almost give more credit to Lamar Jackson, I think, when people see it. But kind of tiptoeing the back of that end zone to make that catch as a rookie, kind of to lead your quarterback into the open zone. It takes some talent. It takes some skill. And he had a big coming out party. I guess the question would be this. Everybody's looking for tight ends. Can he possibly be a tight end after what we saw last night and what the Ravens coaching staff saw last night? Can he be a tight end that even if Andrews is healthy, does likely have enough of a role to where in fantasy you could say, hey, he's a top 12 tight end, or I'll at least take the shot on it. I'll roll the dice. It's a tight end centric offense. I'll take a chance with Likely instead of taking a chance with, Greg Dulcich in Denver. That may be a question for people going into the waiver wire next week.
Yeah, so the Ravens play next week, and then they have a bye in week 10. So we've seen this. I've seen this question posed 150,000 times already. Is Andrews held out next week because they have a bye the following week, even if Andrews is okay, to make sure he's really okay? So there is I think at this point in time, you have to at least look at Likely and think there's a legitimate chance he's a starter next week. We have not heard to date that Andrews has a significant injury. No one at this point in time is expecting him to miss a month of action or anything like that. So to the second part of your question, I've also heard a lot of people start to say, why don't they just use this guy as more of a receiver? Like, why not? And that's the thing with the way this offense runs, they're just not. If Likely isn't used out of the slot or the tight end, like if they start splitting them out wide to create mismatches, does Lamar Jackson take advantage of that anyway? I don't know. So I think Likely, as much as we want him to be a thing and as much as he could be, 6 catches, 77 yards, touchdown last night, as much as he could be a thing, unless Andrews is down, I just don't think there's volume or opportunity in this offense for Likely to be anything other than the guy that catches 3 or 4 passes. And maybe for some people, they'll take the shot that one of them's a touchdown, but I don't think there's enough volume there for anyone to get excited unless Andrews is out.
It may come down to what the Ravens coaching staff truly thinks of Likely's ability to run block, and pass block. And I bring that up, Ray, because they could obviously go 12 personnel and have 2 tight ends out there, one guy in the backfield working with Lamar Jackson. But we don't know if the coaching staff's going to embrace that idea. Just like last night, nobody would have thought they'd come out and throw like they did. They went crazy throwing the football in the first half. That's not the Ravens' MO. Is 12 personnel their MO? They do it, but would they do it every snap? That'd be the change. And so we don't really know how that's going to go. I think the idea of picking up Likely is fine. I mean, we're going to have to get a lot more news on Andrews before we get into bidding and like how much. Thankfully, we've got some time, but make sure to keep him in your back pocket because I know a lot of people are thinking tight ends, and he would certainly be the direction to go. On the flip side, we talked a lot about the Ravens offense, Ray, and kind of the pluses and minuses, the backfields, all this stuff. For the Bucs, it's a bad game. It's a bad offense right now. There is absolutely no rushing attack. I'm amazed at how bad the rushing attack has almost become overnight for the Tampa Bay Bucs. I will say this. Even if they keep losing games, even if they don't put a ton of points on the board, Ray, these receivers, you should be fine with them. Maybe they're not explosive. Maybe Mike Evans doesn't get 10 touchdowns, or maybe Chris Godwin doesn't get 1,100 receiving yards. But I really feel, even if like the overall picture of this offense is one of negativity, I feel that this team is much more likely to go like pass crazy the rest of the season than they are to like reestablish the run. I could see this team every week now, Ray, throwing 40 to 45 times and sometimes even 50 with Tom Brady at the controls. It may not be pretty and it may not be huge numbers, and maybe we're not getting 38 points a week or anything, but Ray, I think they're really going to start to go to the throw because the running game is dead. It's like give up on it. It hasn't worked for weeks now in Tampa.
Yeah, and we talked about this yesterday. The only, luckily Leonard Fournette got in the end zone because he didn't do squat. Absolutely nothing. He was useless. He didn't even catch passes last night, the thing that he's been doing. Rachaad White, the coaching staff's all excited about. They're going to get him more involved. He's been more involved. Last night, barely touched the football. Okay, great. So it is about the receivers. And, I'm not looking at the numbers. I think yesterday you said, 42.3 passes last year per game for Brady.
Yeah, they were exactly the same. Yeah, 42-3. Yeah,
and he threw 44 last night. So yeah, that's what they do. I mean, people talk all the time about they want to get upside, right? Who's going to score 22 points? Who's going to get 19 points? Let's talk floor. Chris Godwin's giving you, if you're in a PPR league, he's giving you 12 points every week. Book it, period. And there are just not that many guys that do that. Now, there's no spike games. He's not getting in the end zone. Okay. But he's giving you 6 catches for 60 yards every week. Boom, 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 every week in this offense. Mike Evans, the touchdowns will ultimately determine whether he's wide receiver 9 or wide receiver 14. But it's 6 catches every week for him for 80 yards. Boom, 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 boom. Because they're both getting 10 targets a week. And that's not likely to change. And so there is certainly value and volume for those two guys. Cade Otton, Julio Jones, Russell Gage, like the ancillary pieces, the ones we have to discuss on a weekly basis. But both those other two, Evans and Godwin, are every week starters.
And I know in the chat room, it's like, well, who do you like more, Godwin or Evans? Who would you go after in a trade? The simple answer for me is right now, Chris Godwin's going to cost you less. And I don't think he's all that different from Evans. Chris Godwin doesn't have a touchdown this year. Like, you want to talk about positive regression? That would be it. In an offense that's going to throw and has Tom Brady. So, Ray, I would just consider the price tag so much more palatable for a guy like Godwin. I'm fine with either guy, but I think Godwin is a lot easier to get right now.
And that kind of question comes up all the time. And the answer is, what does it cost? Who do you want more? Okay, I'd love to get Jalen Hurts, but he's going to cost a crap ton more than Matthew Stafford. So I'm just going to get Matthew Stafford for free. So it's always that question of the cost. Straight up, I'd take Evans. But to your point, I can't imagine the cost for Godwin is 75% of Evans. And this has been happening for weeks. I get questions every single week, and not one or two, a lot about people, should they even start Chris Godwin? And I'm like, what kind of league are you? Maybe you're in a 2 wide receiver league. Maybe you're in a 10 team. Okay, I get it. But Chris Godwin, I have him on a couple teams. I never even consider taking him out of my lineup. It's like, I just mentioned it. He catches 6 passes for 60 yards every week. Toss a touchdown in every other week or something like that moving forward, which is a distinct possibility. And he becomes a star. But people don't look at him like that at the moment because of the lack of touchdowns.
Ray, the Bucks are now 3-5. Todd Bowles in his career is 29-46, by the way. That's
not very good.
Why'd we get the job? 29-46 for his career. That all said, Ray, when I consider the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons, the Bucks are absolutely, they're still the pick in the NFC South, aren't they? They may finish under 5. Well, God, I don't know if you can finish under 500 because that's an 8-9 record. But Ray, maybe you can finish under 500, 8-9, and still make the playoffs as long as you can win the NFC South. Like, they still have all the talent. I know they lost Shaq Barrett last night. That's a hit. He's got an Achilles tear, it sounds like. But like offensively, Ray, they should be fine. Like they can still make the playoffs despite what we saw last night.
Yeah, and all you got to do is make the playoffs, and then you'll see, right? Their defensive backfield was all beat up last night. Maybe they get healthy there. The Barrett thing is a big loss because it does sound like it's an Achilles issue. His career's in jeopardy. He's almost 30 years old at this point, so that's a big concern. Maybe they make a move. Maybe it's a front office move. Maybe it's a coaching move. Maybe it's a player move. Their trade market. Maybe they get involved there. Maybe guys just get healthy. But yeah, you get no one, despite everything. No one's going to go into the playoffs and say, we're going to face Tom Brady this week and feel good about it. You know that. Yeah. So that's got to be their goal. Like you're saying, win the division. If we win 9 games, whatever, get into the playoffs and we'll see what happens.
I'm looking for the team futures. This is the NFC South at this very moment. Looking over at DraftKings here. Bucks are still minus 150 to win the division. That's to make the playoffs.
Right.
Minus 150. Let's see. Saints are plus 700. That's not bad. Taking a shot there. Atlanta is plus 225. Think about that, Ray. Arthur Smith and Marcus Mariota, 15 passes a week, making the playoffs.
So exciting. I'd love to see that.
And the Panthers are plus 1,500. Woo! I get it. I mean, I was hoping the odds would be lower for the Bucks, but at minus 150, ain't touching that. Not at all. Tom Brady also, we should mention, has now been sacked the most of any quarterback in history, which, Ray, he should be. I mean, he's played 23 years.
Yeah.
He's broken the record held by Ben Roethlisberger, by the way. So, I don't know, 556 times, I think, is now the number for Tom Brady. Week 8 it's off and running. Big win for the Ravens last night. And we'll check in on that health as we kind of go through the next week or so. Let's check in on the health of some other teams in the NFL as we get you set for the weekend. Does sound, and in fact, it's official now. Russell Wilson will make the start for the Denver Broncos. Again, early Sunday morning is the start for that game over in London. A lot of rumors with the Broncos about trading Jerry Jeudy. There haven't been too many connective pieces, but in the NFL, you don't see a lot of that. You never really know who the teams are that are involved in those trade talks until the move happens. But that's something to pay attention to. Trading deadline is next Tuesday, November 1st. So that'll be something to follow there. I know Alvin Kamara has been mentioned in trade talks. Mike Florio, Ray, who's pretty plugged in. He shot down any and all rumors about Alvin Kamara maybe being on the move. Philadelphia had been connected, and he said there's no there right now between the Eagles and Kamara.
Yeah, and I saw that all over the place on social too. It's like unnamed sources. If someone tells you unnamed sources and they're not Adam Schefter or Jay Glazer, don't look. Who cares? Like this, Kyle and I have unnamed sources. Who are unnamed sources? My cousin. Like it's all.
Yeah, my wife is usually my unnamed sources.
Yeah, and so when it's someone that is reputable, I guess we give it a little credence, but I'm not a big unnamed source guy. And again, I know people love to speculate. It's the trade deadlines and all the sports. Like people want me to write articles about what. Who cares? It is what it is when it happens. Like we don't know. There's no telling what's going on. It's always interesting after the fact to hear the stories. Oh, we were so close to making the trade. Okay, but what could happen to a guy, and I don't even really pay much attention to that, Kyle, because most of the time it doesn't amount to much.
A couple of other things. Chuba Hubbard, we got news this morning. He's out. So all systems go, I guess, with Donta Foreman. Ray, is he, I guess, top 20? I really don't think he's deserving of it, but I do think he's going to get 15 touches. So to me, that makes him top 20 probably.
Well, I mean, it depends where you can turn to, right? And it depends what your options are. Is this an offense that is likely to replicate the huge success they had on the ground last week? On the ground this week? No, they're not. You're also looking at a matchup with the Falcons, who, the Falcons, to Foreman's benefit, are not likely to score 30 points and run away with the game. So the game flow will be closer. We don't have to worry about Foreman losing snaps on third down because the game's out of reach or anything like that. I mean, to me, this is not a good offense. It's not a sexy or exciting offense. They're starting PJ Walker again. Falcons, as I said yesterday, annoy the piss out of me, but they're a solid football team. They stay in games. I think Foreman, I'm looking at the rankings now. I haven't updated him yet because this news just came out. I wouldn't have him in my top 25 at this point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd still have him as a flex option.
Okay, I'd push him just inside the top 20, I think, kind of considering the work. Other backfields, and this will be a guy that Ray wants to put in his top 20. It looks like Tony Pollard going to be good to go for the Cowboys. We have seen disagreements on what the status is of Zeke. I would take the reporting over what the team's saying. The reporting, Ray, says we could see Zeke sit down for like 2-3 weeks to rest up the knee. Mike McCarthy said this morning that he thinks Zeke has a chance to play in week 8. So, like I said, I'll take the reporting. Ray, I'm going to stand up for the beat guy on this story, okay?
Well, in this, again, they played this week, right? Next week they have a bye. Like, with Elliott proved last year he can play through an injury. He proved it. He did it all season long. He was extremely ineffective. They've got Pollard, who can be extremely effective. So, yeah, I'd be very surprised if he plays with the way the schedule works out. Ezekiel Elliott, I mean.
Yeah. Tony Pollard, that's a top 12? RB1?
Yeah, I would say that is where I would be, yes.
Okay, I'd pull back slightly on that just because it's the Bears matchup. So we'll see. But Pollard's certainly in a good spot. If you've been holding on to him, now is the time to use him. Alan Lazard admits he's very iffy for Sunday night. If you're planning for Sunday night, I would plan on not having Alan Lazard. When the player says that, you can pretty well, guess he's going to be out. Let's see. DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, Noah Brown, all of them with Thursday DNPs. Not looking good for Metcalf. I think Brown and Samuel will be okay, but today's practice report going to be fairly significant. We did get some limiteds yesterday worth knowing about: Mostert, Connor, Waller, Schultz, and Tannehill. So follow the news on those guys. And then another one, Ray, was Amon-Ra St. Brown, who left last week's game early with concussion. Monday, we were told there was never a concussion. Yet all this week, he has been in concussion protocol, including yesterday.
I mean, this is a storyline, and we sat here on this show. I sat here on the show after the Tua Tagovailoa thing happened the first time and said, what's the league doing? This is disastrous. And then he got hurt again. And then there's always the overreaction, right? And let's be honest about this. Football is a dangerous, violent game, and guys are going to get hurt. It's just the way it is, right? And we want to remove as much concern and injury potential, do everything we can to help the players. All of that's true. This is the story that I should have led with, like you said, Kyle, when I was talking about not getting the story from the league and everything. The team said he's fine. The player said he's fine. They said he was never concussed. The league wouldn't let him play. We heard this. Directly heard this. Now we're hearing he's still in the concussion protocol. Like, what? If you never had a concussion, how are you still in the protocol? Like that, doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't even, I don't understand this. I'm fully expecting him still to play, but I mean, the
Ray, quite simply, maybe there's a faux concussion protocol, FAUX.
Yes.
A faux concussion protocol where it may have not happened, but we still have to put you through all the standards, if you will. And maybe there's a designation, Ray, where they say, if we ever officially said you got one, you still have to be within protocol, even though you didn't have one. Like we reassessed after the fact. Yeah. Maybe by rule, since now we have to follow this. Remember. Right. Now the NFL is minding their P's and Q's. They know people are looking for problems. They're looking to call out the league. Everybody's trying to sue. That's coming. So I guess the NFL, Ray, is just going to take this uber carefully now.
Well, if we don't get information today that he's cleared, I'm really nervous because we always hear by Friday. Yeah. Like this is so again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not in there. But I'm just saying, you listener, me, does this make any sense? It makes zero sense. Someone is lying. Someone is being less than truthful. Something is completely lost. And maybe it's that the league is completely lost, and that's the problem we're dealing with here. But a guy can't be in a concussion protocol 5 days after not having a concussion. That doesn't make any sense.
We will get you some game previews coming up in just a bit, a set of 4, including the Patriots and the Jets, the immortal battle of Jones versus Wilson. Also a bit more on that Bears-Cowboys game and a few others. Before we take our time out, a reminder that you can hunt us down a variety of ways here. The website, bettorsports.com. Do check that out. I know a lot of you follow, listen, view us through the app. But again, you can follow, listen, and view us through Twitter and Twitch and Facebook and all sorts of avenues is where you can find us, including that website, bettorsports.com. There are on-demand interviews and features and moments from all the shows. So do check it out as you're kind of spending some time this weekend saying, oh, what did I miss? What were the guys saying about this? It's available on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. You on Twitch yet, Ray? You made it over there?
I have not, no.
No. Is that for kids or what?
I think Instagram kind of is too, to be fair. I mean, TikTok, excuse me. Instagram's good. TikTok, you got to pick your battles. Like, it's too much. I got too much going on. So, Instagram, yes, at the Ray Flowers. Twitter, yes, at the Ray Flowers. Other ones, not Ray Flowers.
No Ray on Twitch yet. I am told by the production team it's mostly for gamers, which now does include adults and kids.
Yes.
Used to be gamers were like under the age of 16. But some people never got out of the age of 16. I don't get the whole gaming thing into your 30s or 40s, right?
I got a friend who's really I got a friend who's really into it, and he's divorced, so his kids are with him half the time. I guess the other half the time to stay out of trouble, he kind of does that. But I'm big into TV and video and all that kind of stuff, and all these reviews that all they talk about is like the gaming performance, and it's like, give a damn.
Well, we all have our weird things that we do as adults. Like, for instance, last night I went to the record store. I mean, Ray, I plopped $85 on vinyl records yesterday. Kind of stupid, right? Most people think that's idiotic,
but they always say that sounds the best, right? Vinyl actually has the best sound.
Forget is nowadays, they hear that and they think that, but you better have a good record player.
That's true too.
And now they sell record players for like no money.
For $79 at Target.
When people throw it on, they expect to be blown away, and quite often they're not because they're turntable is from Sam's.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, but I don't really. There is the physical component, but again, I'm getting to the point of, going to the record store. Well, I guess I shouldn't mock people who play games or play fantasy football. None of that stuff.
It's huge. We cover that at fantasyguru.com.
There's sports, yeah.
Yep. There's leagues, there's shows.
Down the street from me, Ray, is Maryville University. I've never heard of it. Probably nobody has. Ray, they have built a gaming stadium. Oh. They are one of the top gaming universities in the entire country. They get kids coming in on scholarships to play video games. So I'm just an old fogey. They're now giving out degrees on e-gaming and all that. They're building stadiums for e-gamers.
Yeah, and people buy things that look like apes and think they're going to be worth money. I don't know. The world's a different place. I don't necessarily get all of it either. Yeah. Maybe I'm old.
Every time I see that, because there's always the get rich. I bought this thing for 50 cents and it's worth $8 billion. Like that. And you'll read those. And Ray, that's one of those things where it's like, enjoy it, man. Just go for it. I'm gonna sit back here and take it easy. I'll be a working schlub the rest of my life instead of buying that stuff. Okay, breather for us. Game previews on the other side. Still to come. College football for the weekend. The World Series starts tonight. We've got our lunch hunch. We've got picks against the spread. Treasure trove. Lots coming your way right here on Lunch Money on the Bettor Sports Network.
It's Moose and Keith with Mark Malusis and Keith Irizarry.
Moose and Keith with you. Let's welcome aboard right now, Iron Eagle.
One of the great stories that I have from doing notes on a plane, and you always get people looking over. They see color-coded uniform numbers, names, height, weight, age, background, hometown. And I had a woman sitting next to me on a flight, and I'm doing my notes, and she's kind of giving the look, then looking. And I can tell she's looking. And then finally, she'll say, so what is it that you do? Well, what do you think I do? I said, are you a wedding planner? I said, yes. I said, I have to put Rob Gronkowski at Tom Brady's table. I said, you know what? You're not correct, but it's the best answer I've ever heard.
That's great.
Corey Nando and Friends, presented by Mayo Media.
As far as fantasy life, fantasy executive, a football life. The fantasy executive is probably going to be the best football life ever.
We'll be the guest. Everyone who was on yesterday, basically.
Yeah, everybody that's on yesterday will be the guest. Scott Engel, you know what I'm saying? Adam Ronis. Yeah, everybody knows people. Because what Nando, obviously you'll be there. You know what I'm saying? We'll go to the GST and shoot some scenes. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be nice.
We'll shoot some scenes in Midtown Manhattan. Antonio Brown can be on my football life,
That'd
right?
Be nice.
Because that's a big part of my come up as a fantasy analyst. Everybody, the football life, the fantasy executive is going to be for the people. When they do the football life on the fantasy executive, I'm going to be hands on.
Good. Yeah. You talking to you.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by fantasyguru.com.
Cheetos or Doritos?
I truly love both. Cool Ranch Doritos. Wow. I grew up on Cheetos. I was a big Chester Cheetah guy.
Oh, nice.
But Ray, as I have aged into adulthood, I've moved away from the fun that is the Cheeto, and I've gone to the, more cosmopolitan Cool Ranch Dorito chip. So I'm probably a Cool Ranch guy. How about you?
I would go Doritos. I don't like Cool Ranch. The traditional, original, regular, whatever it is really good. But my favorite's actually the sweet chili, the purple bag. Oh, it's delicious. It's fantastic.
Yeah. The one that sucks, and I think we can all agree on this one, taco.
Yeah.
I know a lot of things, and I'm perfect at a lot of things. My Dorito trivia is a little shaky.
Okay.
A little shaky. But I think taco is the first flavor.
It's always lunchtime here. Now back to Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers.
Fairy tales can come true.
This is romantic, Ray.
It is.
Reminds me of Lady and the Tramp.
If you're young.
No. Eating spaghetti, sucking on the same strand of noodle, and the lips come together.
So you say you're not an animal fan, and look at that. Lady and the Tramp's first thing you think of.
Yeah. Speaking of not being an animal fan, here's another reason to not be a fan of animals. And I don't dislike animals. They're fine. I just don't need one. They're fine. I'm not out there, Ray, like, stepping on squirrels and stuff. I don't hate animals.
Good.
And I am that fast. I can catch squirrels with my feet. I am told, is this right? Heather, maybe Josh sent this, that there is now a restaurant in your neck of the woods because, all these crazy, stupid things start out west, in Santa Cruz or somewhere. A San Francisco restaurant, Ray, is serving filet mignon for dogs. Is this right? Is this where Ollie is going for the weekend?
I tell you, have I told the story about Ollie and his filet mignon? He got a Chateaubriand from the store and loved it, and then we got him some Costco meat.
Wait a second, what is Chateaubriand? What is that?
It's a fancy meat, fancy cut of meat. Way it's prepared.
For a dog, or like could a human eat a
It's a human. No, it'll cost you $49 at a restaurant, Kyle. Yeah.
How much should it cost for Ollie?
It was $10. It was on sale, so it was $10 for the chunk. I was probably 8 ounces, something like that. And we got it for him, and he loved it. And then we went to Costco, and we got the Costco meat, and he snubbed it. He wouldn't eat it. So he would love this restaurant in San Francisco where you can go and get your puppy filet mignon.
Ray, we got a lot of things to talk about here. How big was this $10 hunk of meat?
Yeah, I think it was like 8 ounces, maybe something like that.
8 ounces. And then you're stunned that he would turn his nose up at Costco circus animal after that.
Yeah, we felt bad buying it at Costco, but we realized while we were at Costco, they had, we didn't have something for him. We tried.
You're now raising a dog with filet mignon appetite.
Yeah.
You understand the craziness of this?
Yeah, of course, there's craziness to this. I don't even eat filet mignon, so I had to beg for some scraps from the Chateaubriand. I was like, "Can I get some of that?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, you can get some of that." It was all going to go to my dog.
This restaurant's in the Mission District.
Mm-hmm.
Dogue, it is called. Like Vogue, it is called Dogue.
Makes sense.
Now, Ray, you're kind of a cheapskate. Spending $10 on Ollie.
Right.
You take Ollie to Dogue, $75.
You know what? Now that I think about it, it was probably $19.99, so it was probably $20. So, but it's still much less than the 75.
Ray, that'll be a 6-pack of the California Hello.
Yep.
And here you are blowing it on Ollie, $20.
Or you could get a 6-pack of Bud Light and get a burrito for lunch or something like that. You can do that too.
Yeah, Ray, you got to worry about yourself, man. Sunday. Here's the thing, Ray. It's cool. You can do what you want with your money.
Right.
But if you end up penniless at any point, Ray, don't come to me, because I'm going to remind you of spending all this money on Ollie. Okay, I'm just going to tell you.
But you see this, the $75 for the pup also includes a mimosa for the owner.
Which is the only way you can possibly stomach the fact you just spent $75 on your puppy dog to eat an 8-ounce piece of meat.
I don't know. Why not? I don't even know if it's 8 ounces, though, looking at the picture. I think it's probably less.
Well, Ray, I'll be honest with you. I can get filet mignons not even like super, not even go to a specific meat shop. You go to the nice grocery store down the road, it's like filet mignon for $28 a pound. I mean, why wouldn't I just feed that to my dog instead of the $75 crap from Dogue?
Because people don't know how to cook. I don't know. People are lazy. People don't, why do you think DoorDash and all these things are so popular, Kyle? Come on. People don't like cooking.
Yeah, work and grind in our chat room, who's always in there. He's extremely right. It is cathartic to care for living things. Now there is a whole umbrella of living things here on this earth. A huge umbrella. Dogs are in that umbrella. And I'm not going to tell people which ones they should care about. But I think you can infer which ones.
But Kyle, the owner of the restaurant, said that if this is a similar menu for people in San Francisco, it wouldn't be $75. It would be $500. So you're getting a discount if you feed it to your dog.
Take your word for it. Something tells me Ray during the next commercial break is going to get on his phone and make reservations at Dogue for the weekend.
You know what's so funny? We actually have.
No, I know what's funny. Ray.
Yeah.
$75.
Yeah. Well, we have a friend of a friend who
funny.
we have a friend of a friend who was considering going here. They have a Australian Shepherd like we do. And they've actually talked to us about it. So people know about this place. It's
Ray, but just like your Costco experience, what do you feed them next? Like, what's the next level? Are you going to buy them a seafood tower?
No, you can't give them fried food. I don't know.
Seafood tower can be all fresh fish, Ray.
Some caribou, maybe?
Why doesn't Dexter get a seafood tower? He loves fish.
He actually loves chicken. You know what his favorite thing is? His favorite thing is Costco chicken. That's only $4.99, so he's much cheaper than the dog.
He's got street cat.
He does
appetite.
Something was alive once, and I'm happy. That's all he needs. Yeah.
Street cat appetite. That's all right. I gotta say, I don't know either pet, but I'm a much bigger fan of Dexter. Much bigger. And I know Ray and his significant other, they're done with Dexter. Ollie's the cool new dog on the block, and Dexter gets crapped on. But I will remind you, Ray, the only animal that predicted the earthquake the other day, trying to let you know that something was going to happen, was indeed Dexter. So you need to start treating the guy with a little respect.
That guy right there. You can follow him on Instagram at @DDexterKitty. You can follow Ollie at Ollie Aussie Dog. Believe me, Kyle. Believe me. There is a certain person in this house that might love that cat more than she loves me. So Dexter isn't wanting for love. I'll tell you that.
Well, it's cathartic to care for living things, right? She's just chosen the cat over you, I guess. As Dexter asked you what his birthday party, where it's going to be at, what are you guys going to do for his birthday?
All he needs is one of three things: chicken, Parmesan cheese, and not grated Parmesan like in a shaker. It has to be actual Parmesan cheese that you grate for himself. Right? He doesn't want the Kraft stuff out of the shaker. Or thirdly, bacon. One of those three things, and he's a happy cat.
So really, all he wants is a big plate of chicken Alfredo with bacon covered in Parmesan.
Pretty sold.
Sold. Okay, well, I can ship that out to Dexter. I can take care of that. Okay, let's get into week 8, shall we? We've got some football games to take care of, starting with the Bears visiting Dallas. This game got a little more interesting, I think. Doesn't sound like Zeke Elliott's going to play. Bears, of course, look good on Monday night, but a second straight road game, obviously a short week for them. Right now, Dallas is a pretty big favorite in this one, 9.5 points, which kind of shows you that what the Bears did to the Patriots says more about the Patriots than what it says about the Bears. Vegas is still unconvinced by the Chicago Bears. Ray, are you unconvinced by the Bears? Like, did last week change your perception of what they are as a football team?
No, they're not a good football team. And I think we saw this with the trade they made this week. People in the front, I think smart people finally realized, damn it, we're winning some games here, and this ain't good. Like, we can't afford to win it. We talked about this. The Bears, if they win 7 or 8 games this year, that's a failure because they're not going to get the draft pick, the draft capital they need for next year. They're not a good team. They need to build depth. So I don't know. Was it good to see? Sure. Is it heartwarming if you're a Bears fan? Yeah. Should it be, some jumping off point to a run here in the second half of the season? No.
42.5 is our over-under in this one. Quite simply, Ray, I'm going with Pollard as the player to watch. This is why you hold on to him. This is what you want. He's going to be out there. It sounds like he'll be the guy. I'm still fading Dak Prescott. And I think it's just going to be a blah kind of season for Dak. And I don't know how healthy his hand is. I don't know if the Cowboys are near as big play as we like to think. I mean, I brought this up last week. They're just not the offense that we were counting on, that we were hoping for. They've really played it much closer to the vest than they have in years past, which might be the correct decision for them. Maybe that gives them a better opportunity to win, but I think that is going to level off Prescott's overall numbers. So he's my fade. Pollard's my watch. Who are the two guys holding those spots for you in this one, Ray?
I'm backfielding this sucker up with the Chicago Bears. My player to fade is Montgomery. My player to watch is Herbert. Ooh. And, I'll say it this way too, though. Am I benching David Montgomery? If I don't have him, I don't think in the league this year. If I had David Montgomery, I'm still playing him. Okay. But my point is that is he, running back 12, 14, 16, or is he running back 24? He's running back 24. He's at the back end of the RB2 stuff. It's a difficult matchup too. But more than that, it's the way these players are being used. I sat here with you and the listeners and said many times this is Montgomery's backfield when he's healthy, and it's been his backfield when healthy. And now it's not so much his backfield, and that's a concern. You look at them last week, the snap count difference shrunk between the two of them. The route run difference shrunk between the two of them. If you look on a per touch basis, much like the Cowboys, Herbert's actually been more effective than the starter on a per touch basis. Herbert leads football in yards per carry. If you have 75 carries or whatever it is. So I'm watching Herbert and wondering, is this thing trending toward the running back by committee that some people thought it might be weeks ago? Are we getting there? It makes me concerned about Montgomery and makes me intrigued with Herbert.
Well, and I look at that, Ray. Last week, it worked. What they did against the Patriots worked. So logically, they should do it again, right? And last week, what we saw, designed runs for Justin Fields, getting him on the move out of the pocket, something we recommended going into the Monday night game. They did it. And they also, as you just noted, made use of Herbert, made use of David Montgomery. So again, you would suspect they'll do it again. We shall see. We got a question in the chat room about some of the rushing props for Khalil Herbert. The one I'm seeing, Ray, is 39.5 is where the over-under. The over is actually even money. I mean, it's sitting at plus 100 for over 39.5. Do you like the over there?
Well, it's not. The Cowboys allow the fewest points to the running back in the league, and they can get after the quarterback. And if they can flush Fields on non-design runs, they can just flush him out of the pocket, which is likely to happen a lot. This could get ugly. Like, the Bears could really struggle to put drives together. So that's something to think about. But, when you talk about a guy in Herbert who's averaging over 6 yards a carry, whose role seems to be increasing, I'd take the over on that.
Okay. Also in the chat, Prescott or Rodgers. I was just kind of negative on Prescott. I'm even more negative on Rodgers. I'd still go Dak for that one, Ray. How about you?
I would go Dak as well between those two.
Favorite prop for the Cowboys and the Bears. Where do you land?
We have Noah Brown, who's a little bit beat up. We know that CeeDee Lamb is the alpha in the offense, no matter whether it's 90 yards and a touchdown or 58 yards and 6 catches. CeeDee Lamb over 5.5 catches is a minus 125. Sign me up. Elliott's not likely to play. Brown's not looking good. Noah Brown. This is 5.5 catches for CeeDee Lamb, who's seeing 10, 11 targets every week. I'm taking that one, Kyle.
Ray, I'm going to prove that I don't forget promises that I make. If you caught the show 2 days ago, Ray, you probably don't even remember this. Do you remember which no-name wide receiver was in my top 10? Do you remember who that was?
Dante Pettis?
You are correct. Ray, you're listening. I am so proud of you because I don't listen to you, but it's good to hear that you listen to me. I do appreciate that. So, Ray, I'm going balls to the wall on this one. I'm doubling down on Dante Pettis. Double down, Ray. Anytime touchdown for Dante Pettis. Plus 900.
Okay.
I love it. I predicted a long touchdown throw from Fields to Pettis. It's going to happen. So I'm going straight to it, Ray. Plus 900 for that anytime touchdown. Watchability. I've got a 3.5 here. I'm kind of interested in watching this. What's Dak got? What's Fields got? How's Pollard look? Maybe it's going to be a competitive game. Maybe the Bears have turned over a new leaf. I don't know, but I'll go 3.5 on the watchability.
I'll go 3. 10-point spread too, like you're saying, right? I don't know. People are expecting one side to be pretty effective and the other not to be, but I'll go 3 right down the middle there.
Okay, let's move to an AFC East showdown. Maybe the Jets can move to 6-2 if they somehow find a way to beat the Patriots. Now they are at home. Jets and the Whites, Patriots and the Blues. New England, though, is a favorite here. 2.5 points on the pick. Mac Jones is under center, at least as far as we know. Zach Wilson is under center. Ray, you put those two together and you get an over-under of 40.5 with those two. You got any faith in either of these quarterbacks? It's pretty darn messy on both sides, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have faith in Zach Wilson. As bad as things were and disjointed as they were for the Patriots last week, they'll come to play this week too. So I have no faith in Wilson. Mac Jones, a little bit more. I wouldn't say faith is the right word. I think he'll play. I think he'll get the full complement of snaps. I think we'll get beyond the Bailey Zappi question. But no, I don't have faith. I wouldn't want to be using, even in a 2QB league, I wouldn't want to be using either one of these guys.
The Patriots still don't have the offensive playmakers, no matter who the QB is. And The Jets actually are building a decent defense performance-wise. There are numbers here that do back the Jets and kind of what they're doing. I think my fade is Mac Jones, and I'm not saying he's going to get benched, but Ray, I think this storyline is only going to carry over to next week. They may have enough to win here. In fact, I think this game will go kind of down to the wire, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets go full Jets here and they kind of blow it late, or there's some kind of drama or silly ending that ruins the year for they've been so good, so surprising, and then they'll have some kind of just punchy in the nads loss, and it'll send the Jets back to being the Jets, right on the edge of making that move. So I think Mac Jones actually has a win in him. I think it may be 1 or 2 points. I don't even know if they cover, but he's going to be my fade. My guy to watch will be Michael Carter. It may be 1 week, and who knows, it may be 1 quarter. We've heard the Jets say this week, they're going to play the hot hand. But if I've got Carter, Ray, and I do in 2 leagues, 2 leagues, I've got Carter. I'm actually starting him this week. It's as a flex, but I'm taking the shot on Michael Carter, so he's going to be my guy to watch.
Yeah, I got no problem starting him as a flex. I think that's perfectly reasonable this week. I'll agree.
Who's your watch? Who's your fade?
I mean, fading both offenses. There's, it's kind of what do we do here? So I picked out Tyler Conklin just because let's pick on a guy that, people were counting on, and then they made the change to Zach Wilson and he vanished from the offense. He caught 4 passes last week, saw 6 targets. Maybe people will do something with that. I don't think they should. 5 catches in 3 weeks for 38 yards. He's just not part of the offense. They're not throwing the ball effectively. And my player to watch is also part of the passing attack. It's Baby B, otherwise known as Elijah Moore, who all of a sudden now has to be part of the offense because Corey Davis has been ruled out of the game already. We saw that earlier today. He's back with the team. Where's his mindset? Where is he? I don't know. We're hearing rumors about him maybe feeling some more slot time, which in theory is good, but in reality isn't because Zach Wilson doesn't throw to the slot. So is there going to be an in-game explosion? Is there going to be throwing helmets? Is there going to be a fight? Is he going to produce? I'm watching Elijah Moore.
Okay, my prop here is a Patriots win. Surprise, surprise, the over on 40 and a half.
Okay.
Let's think about this. You get the 23-20, yet you've smoked the over. You get the 23-19, you've beaten the over. This doesn't take a lot here. And I think the offenses could fall into some points. Ramondre Stevenson looks pretty legit. Damian Harris is back for another week. Short week for the Patriots. All this stuff I could see actually happening. So if you put the Patriots win with the over, you come out to plus 225. Kind of like those odds. So I'm going to go with that one. Patriots to win on the money line. And again, over the 40 and a half. What's your prop, Ray?
Yeah, my prop is right along the same lines or vein as you, but not as sexy or exciting. It's just the Patriots to cover the win the game. Minus 2.5, minus 115. I think they win the football game, like you said. I didn't do the combo with the point, though. To your point, I don't have a problem with that, and they get much better odds than my minus 115.
Now, Ray, are you going to change your tune on Zach Wilson if he gets another win?
Why would I change my tune on Zach Wilson? He's useless in the fantasy game. Useless. He's not.
Okay, no one's going to disagree. We can look.
He's useless.
What about in real life?
He's useless. He doesn't do anything. All he does is run around in the backfield, then fling a ball that he shouldn't. He had that pick fumble 6 that he got lucky the dude touched his towel on his. He's useless right now. He has no clue what he's doing. He's not a good NFL quarterback. He could change. He's got great skills.
It's hopeless. It's hopeless. It's never going to get better.
It's hopeless right now. It's hopeless in 2022.
Okay.
I mean, and again, this was a mess last week with the Patriots, right? It was a mess. And then Bill Belichick, what did he do? What's he doing with the quarterback? And I've heard people say Bill Belichick is not a good coach. I've heard Bill Belichick, people say he's a product of Tom Brady. Absolute nonsense. And the Jets are going to face a really good defense this week. It's not going to be a good week for Zach Wilson.
I think you and I will not see eye to eye on the watchability. I think while Ray is snoozing through this one, I'm going to be on the edge of my seat. 3.5, Ray, for the Patriots. The Jets get to 6-2, Ray. You got to start taking them seriously, Buster.
Yeah, and if they beat the Patriots to get to 6-2, absolutely will. Yeah, and again, me saying Zach Wilson stinks and that Elijah Moore's a baby back B. Okay, that's different than saying, I don't think there's a storyline here. I'm going to 2. I don't care about the game, but I see what the point is.
It's an AFC showdown, Ray.
Okay.
Come on. You got this immortal organization taking on the up-and-coming Gangrene?
Brady versus Namath. Oh, wait, that's not the matchup.
Let's go to another showdown. A Keystone. Oh, got to move the camera here. A Keystone State showdown. Pittsburgh, Ray, on the road at Philadelphia. Philly's still undefeated, by the way. They were off last week, so everybody maybe has forgotten. They are expected to roll here, Ray. 10.5 is the spread. Man, everything's just falling apart for Pittsburgh. Like it's gotten ugly pretty darn quick here. Over-unders at 43. As noted, again, huge favorite on Philadelphia. Who's your player to watch in this matchup?
My player to watch in this matchup is Pat Freiermuth. And, he's not getting in the end zone, right? But this tight end position is so weak that when you're legitimately looking at a guy who could be seeing 7-8 targets a week and catching 4 or 5 passes a week, which is where we're at right now with Freiermuth, I said it earlier, I think it was this week, he's got a chance to be a top 5 tight end the rest of the way. He's gone 5 catches for 75 yards in half of the last 6 games he's played. Whether it's been Trubisky or Pickett, he's been involved in the offense in a position that desperately needs guys we can count on. I think Pat F is now in that mix.
I've got Pickens as my guy to watch because the big concern, Ray, is will the quarterback play be good enough that he can consistently produce? Now, this should be a game. You just look at the line score, the spread, I should say. This should be a game where they're going to have to throw the ball. And is Pickens the guy? Can he succeed even if his quarterback is not all that great? We are seeing a nice ramp up here for George Pickens. I know there was a lot of hype early. We kind of doubted it, but it has been pretty good for Pickens. And he seems to be the difference maker at wide receiver. I don't know if we really have that with Deontay Johnson. Claypool has taken a step back. So maybe that guy can continue to be Pickens. So I'm going to put him as my watch. My player to fade for the 8th straight week, 7th straight week. Yeah, Ray. Hey, have been wrong yet. What are we always told? Play the hits, Ray. I'm playing the hits.
That's what I tell you.
Fade Najee Harris. Fade Najee Harris. That's your fade this week.
My fade is not Najee Harris, who is not a strong play this week. I would agree with you. And if you wanted to fade him in theory, given what you wanted to have him be your flex option this week after drafting him in the first round, fade totally works. My fade is another guy that you just mentioned. It's Deontay Johnson. And, it's remarkable to say a guy who sees 9-10 targets every week, who catches 5 passes every week is a fade, but it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. He is last in football amongst wide receivers in yards per target at 5 flat. How is a wide receiver averaging 5 yards a target? It's abysmal. Everything with him is underneath. He catches 5 passes every week, seemingly for 49 yards. He never gets in the end zone. He's not scored this season. He hasn't hit 65 yards in 4 games in a row. He's a fade. He's barely a wide receiver 3 this week as Pickens ascends.
He's their running attack, right? Because they can't get 5 yards from Najee Harris. They got to get it on a 5-yard pass to Deontay Johnson.
Wow.
So he's just become yeah. My favorite prop, and I do like this one. Philly's the home team. Philly's expected to roll here. Philly's defense already has 9 picks this year, and that's in 6 games. They're going to have Kenny Pickett probably dropping back 40 times. Ray, Kenny Pickett over an interception and a half. So 2 picks. Usually that number is 0.5 for like every quarterback, but this one is 1.5. I'll still take it. It's plus 170 on the number. So I don't think it's been possible at all for 2 picks from Kenny Pickens. So, I mean, hell, it's in his last name, or excuse me, Pickett, not Pickens. It's in his last name. So we might as well bet on a couple of them. But plus 170 there. I like those odds a lot. What's your favorite prop?
Yeah, my odds is only a minus 115, but it goes to exactly what you're saying. And Kenny Pickett could throw 3 picks. They could get absolutely rolled. He's still going over 216.5 yards. I mean, they're going to be throwing the ball. They're not going to be. It'd be shocking if they were in this game and they weren't just opening things up in the second half. So minus 115 over 16.5.
Let me ask you this. Let's say they're getting beat 28-7. Do you think they keep rolling with Pickett, or could Trubisky? I think they just keep rolling with Pickett as long as he's healthy. Like, it's like, why go back to Trubisky anymore? Like, are we going to see? Do you think the Steelers will, in my opinion, make the mistake of at some point this year saying, "Oh, let's bring in Trubisky. Oh, let's go back to Pickett." It's at this point, Ray. Aren't you just rolling with Kenny Pickett? He's your guy this year. You're probably going to win 4 games, 5 games, but Kenny Pickett's got to be the guy the remainder of the year,
unless he gets hurt. I think you're right. Because and we said this pretty much at the time, they kind of made this decision. And, there's been some nice performances by Pickett. There's been some nice plays by Pickett. There's been some rookie plays, and there's been some turnovers. There's been some concerns, but you've made the commitment. And it's not like Trubisky put pressure on the front office or put pressure on anybody to have to be out there. So I'd be very surprised, even if he struggles. They've made the determination. Let him struggle, like you're saying. This is not a team that's likely to win 10 games and make the playoffs at this point. Maybe they surprise, right? They do have a great coach there that doesn't let them slide for very long. But if that doesn't happen, if they're not winning games and have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs, just let the young guy roll.
PA versus PA, Ray, here. Pennsylvania versus Pennsylvania. It's like Oz against that other guy in the Senate race. Watchability is 2. I'm going with here. I'm not. This is one I can easily fade the whole game, I think.
Yeah, you got this wrong. I'm going 3.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
It's got Najee Harris. It's got a great name. It's got Jalen Hurts, who's playing MVP level football. It's got AJ Brown, Miles Sanders, and Pratt Freiermuth. 3.
Wow.
Boom.
I didn't see that coming, Ray. You keep me on my
honestly,
toes there.
you really would rather watch the Patriots game?
Yeah, I would. I would honestly. I'd absolutely rather watch the Patriots than the Jets.
All right.
I mean, Ray, this is going to be – here's the thing. At least the Patriots and the Jets should be relatively close, like maybe a touchdown or less. This game, Ray, come on.
Yeah.
This game's 2 touchdown differential here, right?
The Eagles are the best team in the NFC. I don't think we can debate that.
Yeah, but they're playing like probably the second or worst team in the AFC. Who cares about watching that?
They've got Carl Pickens or no, George Pickens. Sorry, to Carl Pickens. Wrong Pickens. I win the Wayback Machine there.
Maybe their wide receivers coach. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's going way back there on Carl Pickens. We got more games to get for week 8. We'll get to those in the third hour. When we return here on Lunch Money, shall we talk a little baseball? The World Series begins tonight. We'll take a preview of what we expect to watch, maybe some wagering too on the Astros and the Phillies. That in our lunch hunch, all coming your way after Duke's Den right here on the Bettor Sports Network.
Good afternoon, bettors. It's your boy Duke, back and better than ever, presented to you as always by FantasyGuru.com. Welcome back to Duke's Den. Hour 2 here for you. It is Friday, October 28th. First and foremost, happy birthday to my brother from my same mother, or as my daughter calls him, Uncle D. Happy birthday, buddy. Hope you have a good one. Hell of a college football slate come Saturday. We do have some bets that are live. If you remember, we hit Utah money line last night. Lost the side. Whatever. Don't talk to me about it. But we're parlayed that with Ohio State money line and Tennessee money line. Love that still. But look, I think we're trying to turn the skid around here, okay? We've been on a little bit of a skid. I made some phone calls last night. I said it's important that I deliver winners for my bettors over at Bettor Sports Network. So I got on the horn. I called some trusted people, one of which is a massive UGA fan. I don't have the official statistics on this, but he's hitting something like 92% of his bets. He doesn't bet, but I tell him the spread. He thinks about it and goes, yep, I'll take this side, and it comes out every single time. And here's what he said about the Florida game. By the way, he's going, so he has a vested interest in this. But I have 4 bets between 2 games, the first being this Georgia-Florida cocktail, world's largest cocktail party. Florida plus 22.5 is the bet. Here's why. His exact quote was, the wound from Missouri is still fresh. That game absolutely stressed out not only the coaching staff, not just the players, but the fans as well. I think that has this group thinking this is not a national championship team. He was a bit hesitant to back his dogs and said, I guess I'll take the points. Look, he also said Stetson Bennett has not looked good this year. I said, that's what he's supposed to look like. He's a walk-on. He's not even supposed to be playing. I don't know how you guys won a national championship with that guy. So I'm going to hit this. I'm going to go Florida plus 22.5. I'm also going over 56.5 for the game. This is not last year's UGA Bulldog defense that we saw, the all-time one. Florida's been inconsistent, but they can score. I think this game can get into the 70s if Georgia does their part, which is the crazy thing. So I think Georgia wins, Florida covers, but we get points. It's going to be a fun game. Over 56.5 and Florida plus 22.5. The other one, we're going back to the wagon with Ohio State, minus 14.5. This team is a wagon, by the way. C.J. Stroud basically has looked bored throughout some games this year. The schedule's kind of a joke. But Ohio State has 3 of the best wide receivers in the nation. Not as a unit, but individually. Abuka already has 735 yards and 7 touchdowns. Marvin Harrison has 10 touchdowns already. Cade Stover is a weapon we finally have here at tight end. Smith and Jigba's a top 10 pick. Hasn't even played hardly this year. This is a spot for Ohio State to go off. I think we see quite a bit of Drew Allaire for Penn State. I'm taking under 13.5 points for Penn State in the first half. Under 13.5 points for Penn State in the first half. Ohio State minus 14.5 for the game. This defense gets it done for the Buckeyes. 4 bets from 2 games. Good luck. I'm Duke. Adios.
Come on, baby. It drives me crazy. It's just great balls of fire.
2-2 to Bregman. Here's the pitch, swing, and a drive to right center field. That's a base hit for Bregman. The Astros take a lead, 6-5 on the bolt from Alex. What a swing by Alex Bregman, inside out perfectly.
And the Phillies have the National League Championship. They have beaten the Padres 4-3, and they celebrate on their home turf as the Phillies are the 2022 NL champs. So kind, got to tell this world that you
Fair to say, few people in Philly were probably thinking this. Great balls of fire. Our Phillies are in the World Series? Who'd have thunk it? Calls courtesy of Astros and Phillies radio. We will get you a World Series preview in just a bit. We bring you back with Jerry Lee Lewis, Ray, because the legendary piano player, the man singing Great Balls of Fire, we are told he has passed away. I think there was a rumor 2 days ago he passed away, and they quickly came out and said, no, he's alive. Now, Ray, we're hearing it again. 87 years old, the legendary rocker has passed away.
Yeah, he had quite the life, right?
Both on and off the field, as they say.
Yeah, quite the life. Very interesting story about his personal life away from entertainment world. But yeah, passing away. AP is reporting it now. So, we hope he and his family, obviously, or his family is handling things well. But yeah, one of the, big musical numbers. And I don't know, Kyle, I mean, he played the hell out of the piano. What do I know? You're much more into music. Is he considered like a legit piano player? I mean,
it's a certain style.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a classical pianist.
No, I know, but I mean, is he considered, music?
I think he's seen more as an entertainer. A very good musical entertainer, which is no small feat.
Right.
I mean, here we are. The guy's 87 years old. That song is what, 60 years old?
All right, 50s, I think. Yeah.
65 years old, maybe. I mean, it's an old. We're still talking about it. So that's one of those songs, Ray. Like you can play it anywhere, anytime. Like I could play it for my kid, and they like think it's cool, it's fun, it's whatever, it's happy. That's the kind of song you got there. The other one. This is the one that the child likes, Ray. Okay. One day it came on the radio, and then I said, well, there's a video for it. And I think the only reason he cared about this song is because they're singing about Mickey. But I remember the 80s song, oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blew my mind. Yeah, they got the cheerleader. He loves that song.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of that stuff. But anyway, Jerry Lee Lewis passing away at the age of 87. Definitely a legend, kind of up there with like the Little Richards.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even like Little Richard was more of a legend, if you will, a musical legend, but entertainers to say the least. Okay, Ray, entertainment tonight, World Series Game 1. You were pissed off earlier in the week that you had to wait 5 days.
Right.
I kind of liked it, Ray. It does build up. I'm a little more excited about watching the match tonight, the game tonight, because there's a little bit of interest built up. Haven't seen baseball. It's like, okay, this is special. It's restarting. We got Verlander against Nola. I don't expect any like surprising fireworks from the Phillies. I think Houston is a deserved favorite. I think all the odds for this series minus 185 on Houston, plus 160 on Philly. I think that's pretty well right. I don't expect like a classic series, but I am excited for a little Friday night baseball tonight.
I think I've gotten one baseball question in 5 days anywhere. And again, most of the people that would ask me questions are fantasy, and who's really playoff baseball is not a thing that most people do in fantasy. But I don't know. I mean, is there general excitement? I struggle with this. Again, we talked about it. The delay I don't think is good for the players. I don't think it's good for the game. I don't think it's smart to have games be toward the weekend, more toward football. You should be playing early in the week anyway when you're more the thing. But hopefully it's a good series. That's at the end of the day, that's what baseball fans want to see. We don't want to see a bunch of 1-0 games with 412 strikeouts and nothing happening. And with the way the Astros are pitching, it's going to be tough for the Phillies to be super successful on offense.
First World Series for Philly since 09. This is 4 World Series in 6 years for Houston. And Ray, okay, trash cans, all that. If they win this thing, it's kind of a modern dynasty, isn't it? 4 World Series in 6 years with 2 championships. That's like in today's baseball with this playoff setup, Ray, with free agency, all that stuff. I mean, give them credit. That 1 World Series is tainted. I'm not going to argue that. But for 6 years, we've seen a very good team that even in the lucky playoffs has gotten to the World Series 4 times. It's pretty. And Ray, it's not like they've held on to the same guys all 6 years. They've made a lot of changes and guys have moved on. They don't have Garrett Cole. They don't have George Springer. Guys have moved on. This isn't like the same team over and over again. Correa has moved on. They didn't miss a beat. It's pretty impressive what they've built over the last half dozen years.
It's all about Jose Altuve. They've got a good core of players. They've got excellent pitching. They've got a front office that knows what they're doing. And we can all debate the trash can thing and litigate it and all that, but they've got an organization that off the field prepares the players to have success on the field. And when you see the culture, right, as well as you're pointing out here, it's not just the same 6 guys every time. So it's very impressive. And in the modern day, it's really impressive because of all free agency and all that kind of stuff. They've been able to hold it together.
Philadelphia, the underdog, Ray, but they still have Harper. They still have Real Muto. They still have Nola. They still have Wheeler. They've got Schwarber, who led the National League in home runs. It's a good team, but honestly, Ray, this is the best they've looked all year. That's fair to say. I mean, for like 5 months, they were a middling team. They were fighting Claude just to get in the playoffs. We see this often. You get hot at the right time. Who knows? Last year, we saw it with Atlanta. I mean, that team nobody was saying was a world beater, but lo and behold, they made it to the World Series and they won the thing. So I don't think Philadelphia is like it's impossible for them to win. They've got upper end talent. Now, if I were to say, Ray, let's say Philadelphia wins, there's always a surprise if the surprise wins. Like, is there a guy on the Phillies that you say, man, this would be your surprise if this team somehow wins this? We would all say, oh, Harper's going to win MVP. But would there be like this X factor guy on the Phillies that would stand out to you?
Yeah, it can't be Nola, Wheeler, or Harper because it's just too obvious. You could say Schwarber, but again, I think that's too obvious, right? So then we have to start looking at secondary pieces. And I'm partial to Rhys Hoskins, and he hasn't hit very well in the playoffs, so he's produced a lot of home runs and power. But what about a guy? How about this? I'll go even deeper than Rhys Hoskins. I'm going to go about a guy that was in uniform 2 days early. Did you see this? They were traveling, the Phillies, and Gene Segura was in uniform. Okay. The veteran Gene Segura would be the guy that I would call on to come out of nowhere, make a nice defensive play, do something good on the base pass, have a big hit, finally getting the chance to star on the biggest stage, Gene Segura.
Okay, Gene Segura is the call. I'm going to go with a combo of Alvarado and Dominguez. Those guys are going to be counted on. Like, if this thing were to go 7 games, they're going to pitch in 6 of them probably. Like, they're going to have to pitch almost every single night. So if they can keep it going, maybe the Phillies can roll. But I'll go with those 2 guys who have been fine in the playoffs, maybe even good. I mean, Alvarado showed a little bit of a hiccup, I guess, in the last series. The other thing to keep in mind, because we talked about this a ton in the preseason, right? Anybody who talked about the Phillies said, oh, where's the defense? Houston is, Cleveland's number 1 in terms of avoiding Ks. Houston's number 2. They put the ball in play. And Ray, thus far, the defense hasn't really gotten to the Phillies yet, but it's still the same dudes. I guess the only change they've made is Marsh in center field, but you still have Castellanos, you still have Schwarber. Maybe Bryson Stott has been better than some expected. Hoskins is still shaky. Bohm is shaky. I wonder if the defense finally catches them late in the season.
Yeah, and it's a great question. And will they pull their starters to try to get a defensive edge late in games? We'll see. But this was the one thing coming into the season everyone really focused on, like you're saying, that's a negative. Like, the Phillies, they can hit, and they got some upper end pitching and the defense. And, to date, they've held it together pretty well. I hope it still happens. I don't want to see, 7 errors in 2 games here to start the series, but that is still a weakness with this team, at least in theory.
And Houston just has insane pitching depth. I mean, they've got relievers who have been stellar all season. They've barely pitched in October. And they got guys who were starters all season. They're pitching now out of the bullpen. So pretty fascinating team. I yanked up some numbers just to get everybody, ready to roll. Harper's killing it. OPS is 1,300 in the postseason. Ray, you picked him the other day as your MVP, right?
Right.
It was like plus 600.
600, 600 or 700. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it's down to 550 now,
Must
by the way.
Okay.
Hoskins, 5 home runs, but he's only hitting 182 in the postseason. Castellanos isn't doing anything. He had a bad year. He's having a bad postseason. Bohm, Stott, and Marsh, the back three in the order, they're all hitting under 200. I mentioned Alvarado, 8 of 11 games he's pitched in. The Phillies have 4 saves, Ray, and they're all from 4 different pitchers. Like, I see that. It's like, okay, well, I hope we call for the right guy when it matters. Let's see what. Oh, here's a good one. The pitching staff as a whole, only 5 home runs allowed by the Phillies pitching staff. That's in over 100 innings of work in October. Ray, they're facing a team in the Astros who's hit 12 home runs in 7 games.
Yeah.
So that could really balance the field if this pitching staff can keep the ball in the yard for this series.
Yeah, and on the flip side, the Astros bullpen, who you mentioned, has been spectacular. They've thrown 33 innings. Their ERA is 0.8, and their WHIP is 0.7. So, yeah, if the Astros keep pitching the way they do, it's like not impossible, but it's almost impossible for the Phillies to win. Like, their pitching has been just so dominant. So they're going to need their guys to keep the ball in the yard, because if they give up a couple of big innings, some crooked numbers, it's going to be tough for them to come back.
And that's Ryan Presley, Montero, Abreu, Hector Neris, the old Philly. He's been really good in the
revenge. Yeah.
Verlander has not been good. He's got the start tonight, but Verlander in his 2 starts has allowed 7 earned runs and 13 hits in 10 innings. So that may be something to pay attention to. No Houston pitcher has thrown half the innings that Zach Wheeler has thrown this October. Let's see. Yuri Gurriel is leading Houston in hits in October. He's got 11. Altuve's really struggled, by the way. The what is it? 3 for 32 with 11 Ks. And then finally, Yordan Alvarez, Ray, is actually 5th in postseason OPS right now for the Astros. Big surprise there.
Big surprise there. And I think that even more of a surprise is the struggles of Altuve. And, his return to being Jose Altuve, had another good season this year, would go a long way to giving the Astros the upper hand here. He's obviously hugely important piece of what they're trying to do on offense.
Okay, Ray, over under for number of games. Over 5.5 minus 175. So in effect, they're calling for 6 games. The under is plus 150. I'll take the under at plus 150. I'll go with Houston in 5.
I'll take the under too.
Yeah.
I think
Phillies in 5 or Houston?
Houston.
Okay, Houston's the call. Before we get you some college football, lunch hunch, because Ray, your lunch hunch does deal with this World Series.
It does, and it's a name I don't think either one of us mentioned here. And it's a plus 1,100. So the lunch hunch, we're just taking a hunch, right? I got a hunch. My guy who started out like crap this year and came back and had a pretty good season. My guy who had a 375 on base percentage, a 600 slugging percentage in the ALDS, who had a 375 on base percentage and a 600 slugging percentage in the ALCS. My guy, Alex Bregman, plus 1,100, will lead the series in total bases, Kyle. There it is.
Oh, I don't mind that at all, Ray. At all. He's up near the top of the order, get the extra at-bats. Good call. He takes advantage of that left field porch pretty well. So I'll go with that. My lunch hunch, my long shot bet, is not from the World Series, not to the NFL. College football. And I know our next guest is backstage. He's probably going to throw up a little when he hears this. Maybe not. I don't know. But Ray, I'm taking West Virginia straight up winning over number 7 TCU. TCU is undefeated. TCU is racking up points like crazy. Now, admittedly, the Mountaineers can't stop anybody when they throw. But, Ray, this is a classic trap game. And believe me, you know how many people get trapped in Morgantown, West Virginia?
A lot.
I mean, there are people been trapped in Morgantown for generations. You can't get out. It's Morgantown. It's rough. It's rough and tumble there in Morgantown. TCU has played 4 straight ranked opponents. They've beaten them all. West Virginia is unranked, but they are the home team. They can play some football there. This is plus 225 straight up win.
Okay.
So that's going to be my gut call. Big win for West Virginia, ruining the national title hopes of the TCU. Hey, do you know their nickname, Ray, by chance?
The Horny Toads or whatever.
What do you call
Horny Toads? What is the Horned Toads? What are they?
The Horned Frogs, Ray.
Okay, it's
Come
close.
on.
Yeah.
You were close. You were. And Ray actually has an autographed TCU helmet in his house.
Yeah.
LaDainian
Tomlinson.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There you go. Let's talk some more college football, shall we? I think we've given our guest, Matt Bruning, a few moments to recover from my prediction there. Matt, of course, is with Campus to Canton. You can catch it right here on the Bettor Sports Network every Saturday morning from 8 to 10. And we visit with him every Friday here on the show. Matt, good to see you. Great to have you hanging out with us, getting set for another busy week of college football. I think you did hear my call of TCU falling to West Virginia. Have I absolutely fallen off my rocker with that prediction? Is this one of the worst calls you've heard?
I mean, I would just like to say, first off, thank you, because now I have to go back out and eat lunch again. I just vacated my stomach of everything, as you just mentioned that. No, so off your rocker, no. You mentioned it. TCU is primed for a letdown game here, as you mentioned. They've played 3 ranked opponents, and actually the past 3 weeks, they've had like a sub 50% win expectancy in all those, and they almost lost to the Kansas backup quarterback. It's in Morgantown. Those crowds can definitely get going. I think it would have been better if it was a night game. Noon game, you don't have as much time to drink. You got the tailgate and everything. You don't have as much time to get excited and get going as you do a night game. But you mentioned how bad that West Virginia defense is.
Yeah.
Sticking with this Halloween weekend, I mean, they're giving out candy to the TCU offense all day long, and not like apples, not the little nerds. They're giving out like the big Reese's bars. That's the kind of house that West Virginia is here. They are one of the worst, 126th in EPA pass per attempt. I'm almost positive there's only like 132 schools in college or that count in this metric. So they're bad. They're bad. 41% of their plays have gone for over 7 yards. And to put it into context for how good TCU's offense is, they are 4th in yards per play, averaging 7.7 points a yard or 7 yards. So they are an explosive offense. I personally would not go that far. I'm very much a safe money doesn't lose money kind of guy. And so like I would be a little bit hesitant to play West Virginia and the money line there and thinking that they can get the upset, but they are definitely in a letdown spot. It's a very scary weekend for a lot of these favorites because a lot of these teams like TCU are in these games. And they're only favored by roughly 7 to 7.5 points. So we're likely going to see a lot of upsets this weekend.
Halloween is Monday, as we all know, and I've got my jack-o'-lantern on right now. Matt, are you already ready to go as Sean McVay? Is that what's going on here?
I am. Yeah, I'm glad you picked it up.
Okay,
We're just here to win, guys, and I don't do a great Sean McVay impression.
You got to show up with a chunky soup can nowadays because Sean McVay's the spokesman.
That's a good point. I actually have one right over there. It's what I was to calm the stomach down after the West Virginia thing. I've got some sitting right over there.
Well, I appreciate that, Matt. And I know that we have given you some crap in the past for your Ohio State love because you have some behind you. I'm not wearing. I didn't know what I was wearing. So I had to ask if you knew what you were wearing this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to be sure. And you do look very much like Sean McVay, by the way.
Thank you. It's a compliment for me, not for him. So I appreciate it.
We've got Ohio State this week. They're facing Penn State. And Kyle tells me that this is the stiffest challenge potentially to date here. Any concerns with Ohio State in this game, or do we think we're going to keep the good times rolling?
Absolutely. I think you would be crazy to not be a little bit concerned. I know a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth because Michigan kind of went in and ran all over Penn State. And so a lot of people think Penn State's not a good team. But Penn State and James Franklin are just one of those teams that give Ohio State trouble every time they've played them. It's been roughly a 10 to 7 point game all the way back to 2016, where actually they upset Ohio State, who was a number 2 team in the country, as they are today, and beat them in Happy Valley with, I believe it was Trace McSorley, Saquon Barkley, Miles Sanders were on the team, Mike Gesicki. So, like, they had a really good team. They beat Ohio State. I don't know that they're going to beat Ohio State, but I do think that they will give them trouble. It's a good defense. It's the best defense that Ohio State's played roughly with Iowa. I think they're fairly comparable, but it's definitely the best offense that they've played. And we saw when Ohio State played Toledo earlier this year, Toledo has a really good dual threat quarterback in Daquan Finn, who can not only throw the ball, but run a lot. And Sean Clifford can do that as well. It helps that he's like 32 years old as well. So he's got experience. He's a really veteran quarterback, and they do have some weapons there on the Penn State offense. So I am very nervous about that 15-point line, I think, is what Ohio State's getting. I expect it to be probably closer to 7 to 10 points. I expect Ohio State to win, but it will be a tough test.
Campus to Canton's Matt Bruning joining us here on Lunch Money. And let's go to Notre Dame, Matt. They're on the road. They're the underdog. If they lose, they fall to 4-4. There were people that had them in their top 10 coming into the season. Talk to us a little bit about the matchup this week. And also, what's gone wrong in South Bend here? Why has Notre Dame struggled so mightily based upon those expectations?
I feel like the best explanation you can give on why Notre Dame has struggled is the quarterback position. We see that with the NFL teams too, right? If you see a fall off from that quarterback position, you don't have a guy that you can rely on your offense, and offense can't get going, it puts so much pressure on your defense. And I do think Notre Dame has one of the better defenses in the country. They're coached by a defensive guy, Marcus Freeman, who played at Ohio State. He was thrilled to get that job at Notre Dame. And I still think he's a good coach, but they just don't have a good quarterback. Drew Pine was like the third. He was a third option last year, came in, won a couple games. Was the second option this year as their young quarterback, Tyler Buckner, got hurt and is out for the rest of the season. I think that is putting a lot of pressure on a backup quarterback to try and perform with the defense that's out on the field a ton. For this game against Syracuse this weekend, I think it's going to be a big game for both of them. You just mentioned Notre Dame could fall to 4-4, which is not great. They started out 0-2 for the first time, and I couldn't even tell you how long. And Syracuse kind of fumbled the bag this last weekend. They had a chance to beat Clemson and still be undefeated. They fumbled the ball had three turnovers, including a 97-yard fumble recovery in that game. Notre Dame's defense, I think, is one of the better defenses that they played. I would actually argue it's probably right up there with Clemson. Syracuse right now ranks 119th in rush success rate and rush explosiveness, where I think that Notre Dame's defense can slow them down. They've got a player on the defensive line in Isaiah Foskey, who's likely going to be a first-round pick, and I think he's going to give Syracuse's offensive tackle, Matt Berrigan, a ton of trouble. He's actually given up 6 sacks in 7 games, and I think that Foskey's going to be able to get past him and get to Garrett Schrader. I actually would play the Notre Dame money line here, or if you want to take the points for the safer bet, take that. But I actually think Notre Dame is just the better overall team. They're going to win. We talked about TCU in a letdown moment. I think Syracuse is kind of in that moment too. They're still probably upset about fumbling that game away. They had a chance again to beat Clemson, and in my opinion, they lost it more than Clemson won it, and I think they may still be reeling from that a little bit and end up losing this game to Notre Dame.
It's a 12 o'clock kickoff in the Carrier Dome. That is what's going on tomorrow with Notre Dame and Syracuse. Moving, Matt, to the largest cocktail party in the world, although we're never supposed to say that anymore. And we're not talking about Tom Brady's divorce party. This is going to be Florida and Georgia in the largest cocktail party in the world. Florida's a prohibitive underdog here. I think it's like 3+ touchdowns. It feels like we've kind of forgotten how good Georgia is just because we haven't seen them in a lot of big games. I would suppose they're still this good, but are they going to hammer Florida like this spread would indicate 22.5?
I think so. And Georgia, we have definitely forgotten how good they are. And I think some of that just comes from they've struggled against Missouri. We talked about that game actually a couple weeks ago, or probably like a month ago now at this point. We talked about how Missouri had a chance to beat them. They struggled with them. They struggled with a Kent State team they should not have struggled with. But if you really go down and look at it, their defense is allowing 0.89 points per drive. That's not even a point per drive, 0.89. They have a 32.7% success rate, which is 5th in the country. And they're only allowing 4.61 offensive yards per play, which is 9th. They are extremely good on offense, which is, I think, one thing a lot of people overlook with Georgia. We know because they went on that great run last year with an incredible defense, one of the probably best defenses we've seen in college football, and they win that national championship against Alabama, and it's really been that offense this year that has kind of carried that team. I expect them to be able to beat up on the Gators pretty bad here. The Gators defense is really bad. We talked about how bad West Virginia's is. The Gators is not much better. They're 109th in EPA, 119th in defensive success rate, and 124th in plays of over 4 yards. They would need a perfect game from Anthony Richardson, and I don't think that they're going to get him. And Anthony Richardson right now, we're 9 weeks into the season, and he's thrown 6 touchdowns and has 7 interceptions. He is an incredible athlete, and he is a guy that I think maybe one day we'll be talking about as an NFL draft quarterback, but he's still a very raw prospect and has a lot to figure out. I am excited to see what he looks like in this game. His first start actually came last year against this Georgia team, as we just talked about historical defense, and played really bad. I'm very intrigued to see if he plays any better, but I would be very surprised if Florida does not get blown out in this game.
Got Tennessee at home against Kentucky. Volunteers still kind of celebrating that big win 2 weeks ago against Bama. Kentucky's legit, though, coming in here. And I know Heisman voters like Hendon Hooker's near the top. We don't hear anything about Will Levis, who's the quarterback for Kentucky. Wanted to bring him up with you, Matt, because for a lot of our viewers, Levis is probably the better pro prospect over Hendon Hooker. Talk about Will Levis, and might he be one of the first 1 or 2 quarterback names that we hear next spring?
That's what everybody says. I'll be very curious to see as well. I know a lot of the draft pundits have put him over C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. And I think a lot of that is just the tools that he has, which they are there. He's got an incredible arm. He does have some mobility. He's been slowed down a little bit with that this year. He's been dealing with like a turf toe injury, which anybody who's dealt with that knows it's extremely painful. He's actually been wearing like a steel toe cleat, and it's one size bigger on his foot as well. So he's playing in like 2 different size cleats to try and protect that toe. I do think that he gets drafted ahead of Hendon Hooker. I would actually say that Hooker's the safer bet at the next level because you know what you're getting with him, and he doesn't have the turnover-worthy plays that Will Levis has. Will Levis, though, definitely has the higher upside. I'll be very intrigued to see what happens in this game. I do think it will come down to those two. You know, Kentucky's defense played really well against Mississippi State a couple weeks ago. They were able to put a lot of pressure on Will Rogers, which I was not expecting. And that was kind of what we thought was going to be the game plan for Alabama versus Tennessee was could that defensive line with Dallas Turner kind of coming after them and slow down Hendon Hooker. And they weren't able to. Hendon Hooker was able to put up a ton of points. And I think Kentucky's defensive line is much worse than Alabama. So I don't know that they'll be able to put pressure on Hendon Hooker, and their secondary for Kentucky is not good. So if Hendon Hooker is able to put up points, which we expect him to do, can Will Levis match that? It's going to be a great matchup for him to kind of vault himself back up as into a high top 5, top 10 draft discussion because everybody will be watching this game for the love of Hendon Hooker. I mean, he's in the Heisman run. I think in some places he's actually jumped C.J. Stroud even. So I think this is going to be a great matchup for both these teams. I think the 11-point spread is a little much. I think it's going to be a closer game, but Will Levis could definitely help himself and his draft capital if he plays well against Tennessee this weekend.
Before my final question, Coach McVay, we had our boss, Matt Deutsch, wondering if you could do something to get the ball to Allen Robinson a little bit more this weekend. Is that something you might be able to help us with?
Look, Cooper Kupp's amazing, man. He's the greatest guy. He's so quick. He's got great hands. I mean, I would love it too. I was all in on Allen Robinson.
This is a keeper, man. You better hope McVay lasts as long as Belichick, because if so, your outfit is set for the next 30 years.
I hope so. Sean, I know you're listening. Hit me up, baby. Hit me up. Yeah. Let's get together. Let's take a picture. But yeah,
Ray, if I were him, I'd get some mock-up business cards that say like Sean McVay, coach of the Rams. And my next speeding ticket, I'm just handing that out the window.
Matt, 100%. I already have them made up. I have them made up. I go by Ron McVay as Sean's brother. I'm like, I can get you. I can get you an autograph. You just kind of let me off here.
Matt, you look more like Sean McVay does than that fake Aaron Rodgers does that we always see on the NFL all the time. So you got a chance there. When we talk the weekend, is there anything, gambling wise, betting wise, wagering wise that you're seeing here, Matt? I mean, favorite plays, whether it's the spread, money line, game total, anything that really pops for you this weekend in college football?
Yeah, I can give you a couple. Like I mentioned, the Notre Dame money line is one that I would play. I do expect them to beat Syracuse. Actually, tonight you get ECU going against BYU. I would take ECU, and I think it's actually dropped to 3 points now. BYU's defense has just been in shambles. Jaron Hall, their quarterback, was also getting some draft buzz earlier this season. He's hurt. And they're going to be missing their top running back in Christopher Brooks. ECU has actually been playing really well. I think they win that game. UCF is getting 1.5 against Cincinnati. They're playing in the bounce house. Cincinnati has been kind of playing up and down here. UCF's defense is legit, and the home field advantage, I think, gives the Knights an edge here against Cincinnati, who struggled against SMU last week, and they were a 28-point favorite. So I'm taking UCF and the points there against Cincinnati. And a little bit of a sicko play for you guys here. Nevada versus San Jose State. Take the under in the game, 44.5. Nevada, I don't know we'll even score a point in this game, given how good San Jose's front is. And I don't think that San Jose is going to put up 40 points on their own. So take the under in the Nevada-San Jose State game.
Ray, isn't that another ex-school of yours? Didn't you spend like some time at San Jose State?
I actually got my bachelor's degree there. That was one of the schools that I graduated from, Kyle, unlike the Slugs, which I didn't graduate from.
Yeah, the Banana Slugs kicked you out. But what were they, Spartans?
Spartans,
yeah. Spartans, yeah.
Or the Harney Toads, either one. I don't know.
Yeah. Matt Bruning, a.k.a. Sean McVay, hanging out with us. This is fantastic. I love this. Enjoy the game tomorrow, Ohio State and Penn State. I know you got your show at 8 a.m., Campus to Canton. We'll be tuning in for that, and thank you so much for the visit again, okay, Matt?
Absolutely. You guys have a great weekend.
I almost did call him Sean there, Ray. I almost did.
I'm surprised you didn't say something when you first brought him on. I was surprised.
Yeah. I'm surprised, Ray. I'm about ready to call you Lovey Smith with this beard. It's getting ridiculous.
It's actually pretty. We had a discussion about that in the Flowers household last night. I think I lost the discussion yet again, but I don't ever want to be full Lovey Smith, but it sounds like it might happen.
Yeah, you're trending that direction. Yeah. Lovey Smith in his Bears days with the orange hoodie, all that good stuff. Big beard, good stuff. Big thanks to Matt. Tune into that show tomorrow. It's a good one. Get you set with a lot of wagering and a lot of previews of the action on Saturday. We'll take a breather here. Duke is up next. I know he's got some wagers to tell you about. When we come back, the ever-popular Treasure Trove is coming your way. We got a few more NFL games to preview leading into the weekend, picks against the spread, dessert out the door. It's all coming your way next right here on Lunch Money on BSN.
It's Moose and Keith with Mark Malusis and Keith Irizarry.
Moose and Keith with you. Let's welcome aboard right now, Iron Eagle.
One of the great stories that I have from doing notes on a plane, and you always get people looking over. They see color-coded uniform numbers, names, height, weight, age, background, hometown. And I had a woman sitting next to me on a flight, and I'm doing my notes, and she's kind of giving the look, then looking. And I can tell she's looking. And then finally, she'll say, so what is it that you do? Well, what do you think I do? She said, are you a wedding planner? I said, yes. I said, I have to put Rob Gronkowski at Tom Brady's table. I said, you know what? You're not correct, but it's the best answer I've ever heard.
That's great.
Corey Nando and Friends, presented by Mayo Media.
As far as fantasy executive, it's going to be a football life. The fantasy executive is probably going to be the best football life ever.
Who will be the guest? Everyone who was on yesterday. Basically.
Yeah, everybody that's on yesterday will be the guest. Scott Engel, you know what I'm saying? Adam Rodas. Yeah, everybody knows people. Because what Nando, obviously you'll be there. You know what I'm saying? We'll go to the GST and shoot some scenes. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be nice.
We'll shoot some scenes in Midtown Manhattan. Antonio Brown can be on my football life,
That'd
right?
Be nice.
Because that's a big part of my come up as a fantasy analyst. Everybody, the football life, the fantasy executive is going to be for the people. When they do the football life on the fantasy executive, I'm going to be hands on.
Good. Yeah. You talking to you.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Cheetos or Doritos?
I truly love both. Cool Ranch Doritos.
Wow.
I grew up on Cheetos. I was a big Chester Cheetah guy.
Oh, nice.
But Ray, as I have aged into adulthood, I've moved away from the fun that is the Cheeto, and I've gone to the more cosmopolitan Cool Ranch Dorito chip. So I'm probably a Cool Ranch guy. How about you?
I would go Doritos. I don't like Cool Ranch. The traditional, original, regular, whatever it is really good. But my favorite's actually the sweet chili, the purple bag. Oh, it's delicious. It's fantastic.
Yeah. The one that sucks, and I think we can all agree on this one, taco.
Yeah.
I know a lot of things, and I'm perfect at a lot of things. My Dorito trivia is a little shaky.
Okay.
A little shaky. But I think taco is the first flavor.
It's always lunchtime here. Now back to Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers.
final 35 minutes or so left on the gift. Kyle open the Mayflowers and sounds like Mick Jagger in my ear yelling at me about all these great things. Yes, I'll get off your cloud, Mick. Take it easy, okay? Just give me a second or two. Hope you're doing well on this Friday. We're doing good. Coming up next at 3 o'clock, we get Corey Nando and friends. Now, it is a Friday, and we do a lot of fun things on the show. One of our most fun things to do is what we're going to do right now. It's treasure trove time. Ray and I dig into our own chest of excitement and treasure and find something to showcase and show off on a Friday. So, Ray, what are you coming with on this Friday? What's your treasure that you're showing off from the Flowers household?
Yeah, last week I had the huge 16 by 20 Joe Thornton autographed Hart Trophy photo, right? And I was trying to fit it in. So I thought I'd get something a little smaller this week. And I was going through a drawer and I found a baseball card and I realized I hadn't shown a baseball card yet. And, when I got this card, I got it and it's in a sleeve, it's in a container, it's screwed down. Like I clearly thought at one point in time, this card was going to be the bee's knees. And this guy went and had a great career. He was one of the most durable pitchers in baseball. He was a fantasy stalwart. And I look up his card, this first-year rookie card from Bowman Chrome, and it's $25-$30. So I probably shouldn't have kept it in the closet, in the drawer, in a screw-down container. It's the Bowman Felix Hernandez.
Very nice.
I probably should have taken it out of the sleeve because it's let's see if I can.
Yeah, that is a true rookie card, first year card.
There. Yeah, first year card. There's ones before the year before you can get them too, but I like
it.
It's a Chrome Felix Hernandez. I'm trying to get the right angle here. It's Chrome Felix Hernandez. Yeah. On the back it's got his world jersey. Doesn't even because he when he was in the minors and all that. And it's
I'm taking it, Ray. That's nice. $30 you play?
Yeah, but it's $30. Like it's a really cool card. And theoretically it should be worth something, but I guess there's some version of this card. There's like where it's like $900.
Yeah, there's so many versions of cards. To somebody that is even, that's like a turnoff to me. For getting into this, it's like, my God, where do I start? There's like just a flood of different versions and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's chrome refractors, there's refractors. I don't know. This is just the standard one. But yeah, I was obviously hoping at one point in time it'd be something because I don't know. I probably bought the card for $2 and then I spent, $2 on the case and 20 years later, it's worth $30. But hey, he was a really good pitcher, and I was happy to have him on many of my fantasy teams.
Follow up on the discussion we had earlier in the week with rookie cards, Ray. We were talking about that Sammy Sosa rookie, and I was saying my dad had 100 of them.
Right?
He got back in touch. He was listening to the show.
Okay.
And he said he bought those 100 rookie cards for 10 cents a piece.
Well,
so he spent $10.
Okay.
And I think you said the PSA 10 grade is like $10.50 a piece.
$10.55, $10.50, something like that. Yeah.
So I don't think these are protected. They've been just sitting in a box, but no light, nobody messing with them. So let's say they're worth $9 a piece, right? That would be a fairly significant turnaround. Like $10 is now $900.
It's a good investment.
On those Sammy Sosa
Absolutely. Your dad did a good job. Better than I did.
Yeah. Well, hey, just keep waiting on your Felix Hernandez.
Okay.
Yeah. You didn't buy 100 of those.
I did
Ray.
not.
Mine is one much like Ray. I was kind of shuffling through things and looking for something fresh, something new, something a little different. I found it. And I picked this up. And, since then, I've kind of looked around to see, is this worth anything or what? And I think it is worth something. It is something from my childhood. And I was trying to piece together the story. If this had been given to me as a gift way back in the early 80s, and on the box it says 1982, this is way back, I would have opened it and played with it. But I think the story is that for whatever reason, it was not gifted to me or to one of my brothers or whomever back in Christmas of 82, 83, whatever it may have been. So I believe, Ray, this set in my grandmother's attic. And then when she passed away, you're cleaning stuff up and everything, and somebody found this.
Right.
And they knew when I was a child, I was really keen on this stuff. So they gave it to me. What I've got here, Ray, and the box is not in perfect condition, but this is sealed. This thing has not been opened. And the box is not like torn up or anything, but this is from 1982.
Wow.
This is He-Man. This is like the He-Man. And this is not one of the mocks. It's the original. You can see. And like, where is that? 1982. Or is it over here?
No.
Maybe it's over here.
It's over there.
Yeah,
There you go.
1982. See that, Ray?
I see it. Mm-hmm.
And then here's all the other characters. Like I said, the box is not perfect, but this thing, I mean, the plastic container is still sealed. Obviously, the weaponry of He-Man is still in here. It even has the Masters of the Universe comic book back here.
Right.
You used to get that. I love on the back they tell you that He-Man's his twist at the hip is like that was a cool feature in 82. So I looked this up, Ray, and I can't find it like confirmed anywhere. They said like a mint condition 82 figurine is going well into the hundreds, like even 1,000 in a few places. That's out of the box.
Yeah.
So Ray, this is in the box. I may be holding on to something worth a damn here.
No,
it's the most powerful man in the universe. It says right there.
I have the power. By the way, that could be worth something. I don't know, but absolutely in the case. There's a great special on Netflix about what's the toys that we grew up with or whatever the hell it's called, and they talk about He-Man. It's a great like 1 hour special. But they what is it like? There's only like 9 figures at the start or whatever that's on the back of the box. Like it was a limited run. And I don't know, Kyle. Like I actually that's worth a hell of a lot more than my $35. Felix Hernandez.
It's pretty cool. Rad, and I don't know. Like this is one of those things where like I've got no use for it, and the market it comes, it goes, it raises, it lowers.
Right.
But you know what? It's like this kind. I think 82 is probably because they made figurines 83, 84. This was a huge thing.
Yeah.
I want to say 82 might be the first year of making these things. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm going to guess that. And it's like one of those things like you hold on to this sucker. I mean, He-Man, he's back now. Don't kids like watch He-Man? Isn't that the thing?
Kevin Smith did more. There's series coming out. Yeah, on Netflix. Yeah. I think that isn't from what I remember from the special. I'm not a He-Man expert by any means. But the comic book that you referenced, I don't think that was part of the production line in later years. I think that was part of the tie-in at the start. So I think you're right. That might be first generation, Kyle. Let's go.
First generation. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, Ray, if I get tired of you, I might just sell this sucker and move to the Bahamas. I might just move on.
I'd visit you there, Kyle. Even though
at least spruce up this offense. Come in something. Right? This is gonna buy me a strobe light for the office in here. That's what I'm gonna do with it. Anyway, that is our treasure trove. I do not have many collectibles like that, but that is something. And like I said, if it had been given, that's the other thing, right? Like anybody who got a toy in 82,
that's the thing.
It's not like you collected stuff at 82. You played with stuff, everybody. So like having it sealed is a real thumbs up, I guess.
Like I legitimately probably shouldn't mention this because there might be one point in time where I actually bring it on. But I have an original Optimus Prime and I don't have all the parts because I played with it, but I still have the box, and the box is in great shape. Like it's fantastic.
Still have the styrofoam packaging?
Still have the styrofoam, the whole thing. Yeah.
So that I knew exactly what it was packed in.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't because you see that on all the shows, whether you're watching something sports related, Antique Roadshow on PBS. It's always the boxes because like you're saying, kids the first thing they do is tear that thing open and get to the toy.
Exactly. Well, there we go. Treasure Trove. We do it for you every Friday right here on Lunch Money. Another thing we do on Fridays and Thursdays and Wednesdays, preview the weekend to come in football. And Ray, we are getting set for week 8. We've got a battle of backup QBs in Indianapolis. Everybody's been waiting for this one. Heineke and Ellinger. I mean, they write storybooks about it, Ray.
Yeah, they do.
Heineke v. Ellinger. This will be in Indianapolis, Washington on the road. Colts are favored by 3. This battle of backups, Ray, has a sub 40 over under. Sub for 39.5. Is it going to be this bad on Sunday between these two?
Could be. I mean, their turnovers are a definite possibility on both sides of the ball, right? I don't think we look at either offense and feel great about its ability to just march up and down the field either. So it might be a little bit of a struggle here. Guy making his first NFL start and a guy who's kind of turnover prone on the other side.
I'll tell you this, my prop rate is Indianapolis under 20.5. That's plus 105. It better be all Jonathan Taylor. I'm not counting on any passing from the Colts. Are you?
No. I mean, like 25.
I mean, try. I should say success in passing.
If they threw it 40 times like they were with Matt Ryan, I'd be stunned. I think 25 the pass attempts, they're going to try to do what we see so many teams do. Like even the Commanders probably want to do. They want to throw it 25, 28 times and just get a win, sneak out like that.
And for that reason, I got Taylor as my guy to watch. I'm fading Paris Campbell. There's still a spot for a guy like Pittman, no doubt. But Paris Campbell's my fade. So again, Taylor, I think this is your game, man. Go out and do it. This is the game to go out and do it. So Jonathan Taylor needs to hit for everybody this week. So make sure he's in there. Make sure we get a success there, JT. Ray, how about your 3 items? Prop, player you're watching, and the player to fade.
My prop is Taylor Heineke. He's going to throw a pick. It's a -130. He had 1 pick last week. Probably could have had 3. He's basically thrown a pick every game he started as an average. So I'm taking that prop bet. My player to fade is also Paris Campbell. I don't think it needs to be said, but we're saying it. The 10-plus targets he's seen the last 2 weeks, can't be expecting that to happen with Ellinger this week. And then my player to watch is Antonio Gibson. Yes, it was still Brian Robinson last week, but Antonio Gibson, has he completely supplanted J.D. McKissick as the pass catcher? The last 2 weeks, McKissick has no catches. And you look at Gibson, he's caught 3 passes in 4 straight games. He saw a lot more work on the ground as well last week. I'm interested to see what they'll do with Gibson. They did come out this morning and say they will not be trading him before the deadline.
Yeah, we shall see. I was looking at rushing props because Ellinger, we're told he can do some damage with his legs. I'm not seeing any on DraftKings for Ellinger. Which makes sense. We've never seen this guy on an NFL field, so they won't put any kind of numbers there. They've got Gibson, Robinson, Taylor, Heineke, but nothing for Ellinger. We'll see as we get closer to the weekend if that one pops up. As for watchability here, Ray, again, sub 40 on the game total. Backup QBs, kind of blah, disappointing teams. I guess I'll put it 2.5 for curiosity's sake, just to see what goes on. I'd like to see Jonathan Taylor have a good game, so maybe it occurs on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3. I want to see Ellinger and what he does. I want to see if Taylor can be established as he should. As I mentioned, Gibson, who I have in multiple leagues, I'm hoping that we're seeing a little bit trending forward. Everyone's going to want to be asking questions about whether to start Brian Robinson. 3.
Okay, we'll see. Late window for that game. It's a late start there in Indianapolis. An even later window is Sunday Night Football. Green Bay's on the road at Buffalo this upcoming weekend. Bills, as you'd expect, big favorite, -11. Think about that. Buffalo is a bigger home favorite against Green Bay than Philly is against Pittsburgh. Don't know who that says more about. The over-under is 47.5. This money line, Ray, I haven't seen many this big, -520 for Buffalo. And I guess I'll follow the crowd here. I was looking at like first half totals and all this stuff. It is so pro Buffalo. It like Ray, every bet, it's like, oh God, there's no money to be found here. There's none of this. Like there's nothing that's really exciting. The best I could do, and again, totally unexciting, but I guess I felt confident about it enough. Take Buffalo on the money line in the first half. So all we have to do is get to halftime, and Buffalo's got to be in the lead. The problem is, Ray, -380.
Yeah.
It's the wimpiest bet that I've made as my favorite prop. But that's all these bets in this game. It's just all pro Buffalo. And even if you find value on the Packers, it's not all that great. So I'll just go with the obvious one. It's kind of one of those things when you lose all your money Sunday afternoon, you say, well, I just want to win something. So I'll go to this money line on the Bills, -380. What's your prop for this one?
Yeah, my prop is, and I took this earlier in the week, so I got to stand by it. Aaron Rodgers, 242.5 passing yards, +100. There's all kinds of questions about what's going on with the offense. There's questions about who's going to be on the field. But as good as the Packers defense can be, they're not stopping the Bills. So we're going to have to see some passing in the second half. At least that's my expectation.
Yeah, but the problem is who's he passing to and what are they doing? Is it just a bunch of dump offs? Like we've seen nothing from Rodgers. He's my fade. You're right. He's going to have an opportunity to pass and put up numbers. But Ray, I think this could be coming out of Sunday Night Football rock bottom for Rodgers and the Packers. I'm not sensing a surprising effort. I'm not sensing a solid effort. I'm sensing like a really ugly effort. And I hate to jump the gun. I mean, the game hasn't even been played. And I'll probably be eating all these words come Monday morning. But Ray, it's like maybe this is kind of that moment in Rodgers' history where you say, it's over. Just move on. They'll win a few more games and maybe they find back into the playoffs, but where you say, we've reached the end of the line with this one. So I think he's my fade. I'm embracing Dylan, or I'm not embracing. He's my guy to watch. Let's get back on the horse here. We need to get something from A.J. Dillon. We need to get usage from A.J. Dillon. I don't know why. I mean, I look at the offense here, and it's like, why are you not using A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones? You can use them both. They should be using both. They haven't done a good job of it this year. So my fade is Rodgers. My watch is Dillon. How about the two guys for you in those spots?
My fade is Dillon, not because anything you said is wrong, but because it doesn't matter. They haven't used him. He's run for 45 yards once in 5 games. It's just not. I mean, it's crazy. He's had 20 carries in 3 games. Like, what are you doing? So I don't know what the play calling is here. The game flow is not going to be in his favor. Maybe they finally realize they got to do it regardless, but I'm fading him this week at least. And my player to watch is Romeo Doubs because, Al Lazard's not playing. He gave the snap, crackle, and pop like he's a serial fan about his shoulder. I don't know if he's soft, but the team needed him last week. He didn't play because he had the shoulder issue. He's not going to play this week. Doubs is going to have to be the guy. And after doing nothing last week on 4 targets, he's very likely to see at least double the work. And we'll see if he can pop a big play.
I think a lot of people are probably looking at Doubs and saying, I don't expect his team to do much, but he should get a lot of targets. So should he be in my starting lineup? Is that a thumbs up on Doubs? You just have to play the odds and the circumstances with him?
I think that's a great way to look at it. I think that, if you're in a two wide receiver league, maybe you don't. And I see this question all the time. If you're in a 3 wide receiver league, it's going to be hard not to have him active because it's like 7 targets. If he doesn't get 7 or 8 targets, like who are they throwing the ball to? Like this offense would score 4 points this week, which you can't even do because you have to have 2 safeties. But it has to be Doubs. So he's in the low 30s range at the position. So I think he's a start.
I'll go with a 3 for watchability, and Ray, it may be like a 3 for the first 2 quarters and then like a 0 after that. I don't know, but I'll give it a shot. Hey, if nothing else, you get to watch the Bills and Josh Allen, which is always fun. It's always enjoyable. So a 3 is where I'm landing.
I'm going to 4. We get to watch the Bills and Josh Allen, then we get to see Aaron Rodgers cry and whine and bitch and moan and get smashed. I'm all for it. 4.
All for it. Sign me up for a crushing of Aaron Rodgers. Oh man, what do they call it? Hate watching? Is that what we're doing?
That's
now?
a thing. I might have a little bit of it. Yeah, for the game.
Yeah, most people do that with like The Bachelorette. We do it with Aaron Rodgers. It's just as dramatic, so it's really not all that crazy or different. Moving back into Sunday afternoon, we've got the Raiders on the road at New Orleans. This is a 1-point pick for the Raiders. We know that Dalton's in there. Right? We know he's the guy. That's what the Saints are telling us. Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, forget about it. They're not going to be here. But we do have Dalton, so that means we have Kamara. My favorite prop, Ray, is the over on receiving yardage for Kamara. It's 38.5, minus 110. He may not get the 38.5, but he'll probably almost be guaranteed 5 catches. And so I'll take my shot on 7 yards a pop, 7.5 yards a pop. But I'll take that minus 110 on Kamara. Again, over 38.5 yards receiving. What do you got, Ray?
I almost took the same one. I didn't ultimately, though. He caught 5 passes in 2 games with Winston. With Dalton, he's caught 6, 7, and 7 passes. As we've talked about, it's much better for Kamara to have the Dalton under center, and he does this week. So I have a Kamara this week. 104.5 scrimmage yards is a minus 115. I'm taking that one. It's not just been about the pass catching, which is there. He's also run for 95 yards in 2 of the last 3 games, too. He's running the ball effectively. He's catching the passes. He has been their offense. No Michael Thomas. Doesn't look like Landry's going to play. That's what I'm taking. 104 scrimmage yards, minus 115.
Kind of wild with Kamara, Ray. Having been in this seat for many, many years throughout his whole NFL career, it seemed like Kamara was one of those guys people love to talk about. Now I don't hear anything about him. Like, you never hear a thing about Alvin Kamara anymore. And even when he has the good games like he did last couple of weeks, you don't hear anything. I don't think we've heard much about Josh Jacobs either. And that guy's having dynamite games. Nobody's talking about it, because they all got burned back in August, I guess. But he's my player to watch, going for another huge effort. And I wouldn't expect it. What he's already done is fairly shocking. But this matchup is nothing too rough against the Saints. Let's see if the Raiders just continue to go Jacobs. And I think that's probably the direction they go in. So he's my guy to watch. Who's yours, Ray?
Chris Olave, the youngster, has really asserted himself because he's had to, but he's also done it because of his talent. Went for over 100 yards last week. He's caught at least 4 balls in 5 straight games. Again, no Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry. Like, he's the only guy in town. So he's at 100 yards or a touchdown in 4 straight games. He'll keep the good times rolling this week, I would think.
I'm going to fade Waller. Ray, I think we've gotten to the point where it's maybe a little more name than game for Darren Waller. And He's been in and out of the lineup a lot over the last year plus. He's limited this week with the hamstring injury. And I get it. For those in yearly seasonal play, you don't have you're rolling Darren Waller. But like for a DFS thing, I don't think there's much here. I'm sure his price has dipped. There's not a whole lot of excitement for Waller. He's been really quiet for most of the time. Injuries and effectiveness, game plan going more to Devontae Adams. So he's going to be my fade. What do you got in that section?
Yeah, another guy with the Raiders. It's supposedly a pass catcher, but not a lot of volume here in this offense. A lot of it does go to Adams. Jacobs has been more involved in the passing game than a lot of people anticipated. My guy's Hunter Renfrow. It's not as simple as, well, Waller's out, Renfro's going to star. It's also not as simple as he's not going to do it if Waller plays. But the fact is, Hunter Renfrow to date's done nothing. He's dealing with a hip injury himself. He was utilized and productive last year out of necessity. That's just not where they're at right now. The offense is different. It's Jacobs and Adams are bust pretty much. Hunter Renfrow.
Okay, watchability. I kind of feel like I know it's happened, but I feel like I've never seen the Raiders play the Saints. I don't feel like that matchup. I think it has to happen by rule every 6 years at the very least, but kind of feel like it's never happened. It's not enough for me to get excited. I'll go with a watchability of 3.
It's not enough for me to get excited either. I'll go with the watchability of Dose. 2.
Dose. Now here's the big question, Ray. Las Vegas versus New Orleans. What is the better city? What is the better city to have fun in, you think?
See, again, I have had plans to go to New Orleans. I have never made it. So I only have so many experiences in Vegas. I would have to say Vegas because they have the Golden Tiki there. But I know the Hurricane is from New Orleans, right? So I don't know, Kyle. I'll go Vegas, but that's because I'm biased.
Everything about me and the way I live says New Orleans.
I would think. Right?
Yeah. I appreciate Vegas and it's fun, but it's not, you get to a point, it's kind of, you're done with it. Like the exciting thing is going to restaurants. That's kind of where I'm at in Vegas. They got cool restaurants. New Orleans, I haven't been to in 20 years, a little over 20 years, which is shocking. I mean, I could take a car trip and be there in like 8-9 hours, I think. So I need to get to New Orleans. I can never convince my wife to go there. Every time I bring it up, Ray, I guess she thinks like possums run around New Orleans all day long.
Okay.
Like she's just not into it at all. I keep telling her, oh, the food and the fun and the music. And, you mentioned the Hurricanes. They also have a drink called the hand grenade. That is awesome. It's a giant hand grenade that is just as probably better than the Hurricane, in fact.
Okay.
So that may be a thing, right? Wives, and I miss this on my anniversary. They always like to be surprised with trips.
Okay.
Ray, I may push the envelope and surprise her with a trip, but then it's going to be New Orleans.
So kind of, but no. Okay.
Yeah. So be excited. And then she's like, oh, no. I get one trip every 4 months and we're going to New Orleans? I'd be like, yeah, honey, you're going.
Yep.
Hell or high water, you're going. And she may love it, Ray. She may love it. So I'm going to withhold judgment on the New Orleans versus, because I haven't been there in so long. So I gotta get back there. And it was pre-Katrina. That's how long it's been. So I'd have to check it out. Watchability of 3 there. One last game to get to. Giants and Seahawks. Surprise, surprise, Ray. This is a game that matters. Yeah. Like I would have said, if you had told me that this would be literally one of the 3 or 4 most important games, seriously, or like this would be one of the 3 games with playoff team against playoff team, it's crazy. You've been getting into Ray's California Hello collection. Been messing around with that. But here we are, Ray. Seattle and the Giants. The Seahawks -3. That's the pick. Over-under is 44.5. What do you have as your prop for this one?
My favorite prop here is the Giants go over 9.5 points in the first half. It's a +110. I know it's on the road, and you always have to worry about that. But the Seahawks defense is not very good. They're not stopping anybody. There's diversification with the Giants. They got rid of Tony. They can move forward. Daniel Jones inching forward as a passer. Obviously, there as a runner. They'll get to 10 points in the first half.
To an extent, your kind of goes hand in hand with mine. I looked at an alternate game total. Again, the game total is 44.5. If you kick it up to 47, take the over, you get +116. That's where I'm going. I think, Ray, that the Seahawks can roll some points against the Giants at home. I think the Giants can have some late success against Seattle's defense. I'm still not convinced of this Giants offense outside of Saquon Barkley. Like, the Wan'Dale Robinson stuff, I see it in the chat room already, Is it fine to play Wan'Dale Robinson? Well, I guess if you've got to force it. I still feel like people are forcing the Wan'Dale Robinson stuff. This matchup is a solid one, but folks, you have to remember, where does Daniel Jones do his damage? It's with his legs. Where does the offense do their damage? It's with Saquon Barkley. It's not the worst start for a guy like Robinson, and I think there will be some points. And so if you say, hey, Kyle, if you're going to take the over 47, don't I need to get the wide receiver? That's a fine argument. My thoughts, though, are still like, Wan'Dale Robinson, fourth receiver. That's kind of where I land on it. So I think we get the over 47. How we go about that over is probably a lot of Walker, a lot of Barkley, maybe some late scoring, maybe Geno Smith with a deep bomb to lock it. I don't think the numbers, like the Giants could get to 24 points here, but I don't know they put up a lot of numbers on their way to 24. So that's how I'm playing it. Kind of both sides. I like the scoring. I don't love it, but I will take the over on that alternate number. What about Robinson for you, Ray? Like, again, the matchup says, they should have some success against Seattle, but I'm still not thinking the Giants embrace it enough for him to have like wide receiver 2 or 3 success.
Yeah, I think Wan'Dale Robinson is a wide receiver 3-4 flex. He's not a must play. He's not someone that you got to figure a way to get him into your lineup. And I would hope that you have 3 better receiving options at least this week.
Yeah, and I mean, like, to the person who lost Jamar Chase, okay, I get it. You're scrambling and maybe Wan'Dale Robinson. It's fine. I'm not saying he has to be on the bench. But again, I don't want to force him into my lineup. Yeah. If I got an obvious one would be like, well, if I have David Montgomery or Pollard, I'm taking those guys over a guy like Robinson. Here we've got, it's between Robinson, Hunt, and Judy. In that case, Ray, I guess I could force it. I wouldn't. You wouldn't? Where would you go? Hunt
and Judy. Yeah.
You would? Okay.
Yeah, I would. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson, again, I think it's very much in line with the Gus Edwards talk we had earlier in the show. Wan'Dale Robinson is going to catch 5 passes for 52 yards. He's not catching 9 passes. He's not going for 150 yards. He's not scoring 2 touchdowns. Like, just that offense doesn't do that. So it's a floor play with Robinson. It's not a ceiling play. And in some scenarios that works. But I think right now in the rankings over at fantasyguru.com, I don't even think we have him in the top 40 wide receiver. Like I said, if you're in a deep league and you got injuries, I said that I lost DK Metcalf and Jamar Chase in the same league. I would love to have Wan'Dale Robinson, but how many people are in this scenario? I am.
Yeah, I think for the last 3 games, he's picked up, people are interested, 27 points or not even. Let's see, what do we got here? 10, 19, 25 points, I guess, in those 3 games. So about 8 a pop. Quickly, Ray, your player to watch and your player to fade.
Yeah, my player to watch is Daniel Jones. He's trending, right? He's a quarterback 1 for some people this week. He's a starter. It's a good match, a bad defense he's facing. So he's my guy to watch. And my player to fade is the quarterback on the other side. I think the loss of DK Metcalf is big. It's a huge, and I guess theoretically Metcalf could still play, but he's not expected to play. That's a big downer to the offense. I think it's going to be a lot of Mr. Walker this week. So I'm fading Geno Smith.
Same 2 guys, Ray, but flip-flop them. I've got Smith as the guy to watch and Jones as the fade there. I think so much of Jones' success, he's got to get the rushing yardage. We're starting to see that more and more. Like, if you look at his success this year, he has good point totals week by week, and like well over half of it is driven by rushing yardage. It's a dangerous game to play. There are some guys who can do it. I don't think Daniel Jones can do it to that level just yet. I do like the watchability here, Ray. I'm coming with a 4 on this matchup.
I'm at a 3, but I don't mind a 4. I'd rather watch this than a lot of the other games this week.
Embrace the Giants, Ray. Embrace them. Come on.
Your team.
Get on board. I was on board in August, but I still got room for passengers, Ray.
Okay.
Jump on board. Quickly, before we make our picks against the spread, update, not good news either, on the Cardinals backfield, Ray.
Yeah, but at least we got the update. James Conner with the rib issue. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Well, we found out he's not going to play. So it'll be another week of Eno Benjamin, another week of Eno Benjamin being basically a volume running back 2. No James Conner this week for the Cardinals.
Okay, picks against the spread. Right, it was rough, really rough. I must have gotten to your drinky drink because I was even worse than you last week, and you were bad. I was piss poor. Ray, you went 4-8. I went 3-9. Wow,
Not good.
we haven't done this bad picking against the spread in forever.
Ever. Now that we're on BSN, we're celebrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 44-54 for the year. You're 39-59 for the year.
It's terrible.
Well, nowhere to go but up. So let's do it, Ray. Denver, London game, a 2.5-point dog against the Jags. Who do you got?
Jaguars.
Jaguars. Yeah, crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Bears are a 10-point dog at Dallas. I will take the Bears to be within 10 of the boys.
Bears.
Another big dog, Pittsburgh, 10.5 in favor of the Eagles. I'll go with the Eagles on that one.
Eagles.
Okay. Got Miami visiting Detroit. Dolphins favored by 3.5. Give me Jared Goff at home. Give me the Lions for the upset.
I'm not going that way. I'm going Dolphins.
Ooh.
Going Dolphins.
I think the Patriots win, but I think it's very tight. The spread's 2.5, so I'm going to take the Jets to lose, but to keep this game within 1 or 2 points.
I'm going to go Patriots.
Okay. Just told you Arizona is going to be without James Conner. I would suggest this spread's going to change in the next 24 hours. Right now, Ray, and this is the one we go with, minus 3.5 in favor of the Vikings. Now, again, this is probably going to be up to close to 4.5, I bet, with the Conner news. I'm going to take, man, I'm struggling with this one.
I'm surprised.
It's going to be a tight game. Let's go with Arizona. Arizona to be within 4.
Vikings are going to win the game and cover that at home.
Okay. 1-point spread between the Raiders and the Saints. Raiders are the favorite there, Ray.
Saints.
Saints for me as well. 4.5-point pick is Atlanta against Carolina. Give me the Falcons.
Falcons.
We've got Houston hosting Tennessee. Titans favored by just 3 points. Give me the Texans, Ray. An outright win is happening on Sunday.
I'm going to go with the Titans, even though we're not certain that Tannehill's starting.
Seahawks favored by a field goal against that Giants team. I'll take Seattle.
Seattle at home.
Got the Niners on the road at L.A. San Francisco by 1.5. Well-rested L.A. Give me the Rams.
No Akers this week. He's been ruled out. Van Jefferson will play. We just heard that. Rams.
Got the Colts favored by 2.5 against Washington. I'm purely just going to take the home team here. It's going to be an ugly game. I don't expect much. Give me the Colts.
Take the Colts.
I think the Bills rampage the Packers. The spread's 11. I'll take Buffalo to cover it.
So will I.
Okay, and then finally, Monday Night Football. We'll preview this game next week, but Cincinnati at Cleveland. We'll make the pick now. Bengals favored by a field goal. They're without Jamar Chase. I will take Cleveland in that one.
I will take the Bengals, but I feel much less certain about that than I did 24 hours ago.
Yeah, that Chase injury does make a difference. Finally, dessert out the door. What do we have for you? Well, it's Mattress Mac. Remember Mattress Mac? Ray, here's the bet. He's the guy in Houston. He puts money down on everything Houston all the time. Ray, he's got a $10 million bet on the Astros to win it all. If he wins this, if they take care of business, $75 million in his pocket. From 10 million to 75 million. You got to have money to make money.
Right.
That will be the biggest. They think it's the biggest payoff, like just total money ever in wagering history.
How many mattresses does that guy sell? Like, this is insanity.
Enough to where it's part of his name, Mattress Mac.
I guess. Jeez.
I love this quote because I think we've all been here. He says his wife is the problem. She frets, as he says, she frets over the enormity of his wagers. I would say so. I'd fret too. That will do it for us. Enjoy the weekend. Back on Monday, 12 Eastern, right here on the Bettor Sports Network.